Hey there, Jordan Sheridan, live. Status Coup, Monday, August 8th, 2022. Delighted to be joined by Tina Desiree Berg, who's in the light. Who's in the light today?
I left the bunker.
She left the bunker. So we are excited to have you back. It's been a while. You were doing a couple things, weren't you, at Comic-Con and all over the place?
Yeah. Comic-Con was a lot of fun. That was a nice change of pace to not be doing politics and to get away from right-wingers for a hot minute there. That was fun. Also, you were on the road.
Correct.
Covering all of the income inequality in the country. Did some really important reporting there.
The economic hellscape we're living in, which I am delighted to say we got since I was on the road about 2 weeks ago. We've gotten over 70 new members, so this is exciting. 70 new Status Coup members. We're going to do our members only call later in the week, so very, very excited about that. So hopefully new members will have time. I'm thinking Thursday at night, so excited for the new members. Hopefully we get some more. I was also live yesterday. It was fucking hot, which we're going to talk about, the whole climate inferno. I have another strike going on with Starbucks workers. So I was live there in South Jersey speaking with the folks. So that is up on the channel. But we have a lot to discuss. And I don't know, we might cry or laugh or both later on as we react to the best of CPAC. Best of CPAC, and I'm hoping, fingers crossed, it will work. But we are going to take calls. We're going to take calls.
We are
on the YouTube show. So if you haven't downloaded the Call-In app yet, you gotta download the Call-In app. That's CALLIN, and follow Status Coup on Call-In, and it's like a regular call-in, which we've been doing for a couple months now. And you'll, raise your hand to call in through the Call-In app, and it will somehow, I don't know how, but come through the YouTube show. So we welcome our friends, our foes, haters are welcome too. And we're going to take your calls a little bit later. Tina, I don't know how much of this you paid attention to. The Biden, Schumer, Pelosi, the media are just doing a dance over the, quote, historic climate bill. Oh, by the way, smash the like button, thumbs up right under the video. Share this live stream. Super chats welcome. We'll read them at the end. They're celebrating what they say is historic climate bill. And, it's the same thing we always say. I'm not going to lie. There's some things in it that are good.
Yeah.
But I want to first, before we get into this piece of crumb cake, which is the equivalent, Colin, if you have that badass thumbnail, is the equivalent of your house is on fire and the fire department comes with a couple water guns and super soakers. Colin Tooley, great thumbnail. This is the equivalent of it.
Yeah.
But I just want to remind people, since, corporate media might not remember this as they're celebrating this historic deal. Colin, if we could just go through it. Let's start with the London heat wave of a few weeks ago. Let's just show some video on that.
This morning, the UK also coping with unprecedented heat and dangerous consequences. Record-setting temperatures topping 104 degrees, fueling raging fires across London. This massive residential blaze forcing evacuations and taking firefighters hours to extinguish. One neighbor trying to stop the flames with a garden hose. The sweltering heat gripping a nation not equipped for extreme temperatures, catching many American tourists off guard.
We're just going to suffer through it because we're here for 2 days.
Train tracks buckling and runways melting, disrupting services across England. Millions suffering in a nation where most don't have air conditioning. But climate experts say this kind of scorching heat could become the norm.
Going forward, we may well see this type of heat across the UK more and more common.
The crisis in the UK also playing out across other parts of Europe. An inferno in Athens, Greece, forcing more than 400 firefighters to battle flames raging day and night.
So that was London. Now let's go to Kentucky, which has unprecedented flooding going on right now. Let's show that. And I sent all this to Colin like 20 minutes ago, so it might be a little.
Tonight, this grocery store has nothing to sell.
It's just devastation. Total devastation.
Deadly floods gutted Gwen Christian's supermarket.
We can tell about where the water came up because look at this shelf. Looks like nothing ever happened, and everything else, mud.
What you have to understand is our customers are our family. The people who works in this store is our family. We know each other. We know each other's pains.
Neighbor Natasha York lost everything.
I have no belongings. I have no home. I have nothing. I can't.
1 week after this horrific natural disaster began, residents still lining up for basic supplies. Neighbors helping each other pick up the muddy, shattered pieces.
All we can do now is start to rebuild and get back what we lost.
Right,
But many lost something you can't.
That's Kentucky.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you saw the death toll. It might be more now, but the heat wave, which I just call the climate inferno, killed over 2,000 people in Spain and Portugal. So the heat wave killed over 2,000 people in Spain and Portugal a couple weeks ago. That number's probably higher now. And I don't know, Tina, you live in Los Angeles. Are you having a nice summer breeze there? How's the weather?
I'm hot as fuck. It was 102 here yesterday. Today it's in the high 90s.
Yes. So all of this, I don't know, even your politicians that are corrupt, right? You would think maybe they see that the climate doesn't stop for corporate donors. It'll come for you too, the wealthy people. But
Or mansion.
right. Ultimately, and Colin, this is the Washington Post story, if you have it, how the Inflation Reduction Act might impact you and change the U.S. So I just want to read kind of the top lines. Obviously, there's other provisions outside of climate, but really how they're framing it and how what I like to call Blue MAGA is framing it as this is historic, right? So let's just go down the list of what is in this that is supposedly historic. You got $260 billion in clean energy tax credits. So that's new and extended credits to incentivize solar, wind, hydropower, and other sources of renewable energy.
A lot of those are extended credits too. I think people need to realize that they're just extending what was already on the books. This isn't like added benefits.
Correct. Private firms and publicly owned utilities could get tax subsidies both for the production of renewable energy and for manufacturing a specific part essential to a renewable project. You got $80 billion in new rebates for electric vehicles, green energy at home, and more. You got $1.5 billion in rewards for cutting methane emissions. Rewards. $27 billion in a green bank.
Carbon credits. Yeah. I mean, it's credits, but they're also fully supporting the upgrades of existing gas and coal facilities.
Oh, I'm getting to that.
They should be eliminating that.
Yeah. So you have a clean energy green bank, commonly referred would leverage public and private funds to invest in clean energy technologies. Support for fossil fuel project to secure Manchin's vote. Democratic leadership pledge to mandate new oil and gas leasing in the Gulf of Mexico and off the coast of Alaska, where industry groups are pushing for major expansion. Manchin also said in a statement, Schumer has committed to advancing a permitting reform bill. So let me explain that one, Tina. I don't think I knew you back then, but the first story we covered at Status Coup was the Mountain Valley Pipeline. It's going to Virginia, West Virginia, and North Carolina. The Mountain Valley Pipeline is literally a natural gas pipeline that is going underneath the steepest slopes in the country. Its blast radius, when it explodes, is 2 miles. I went there in 2018 because a mother and daughter were literally protesting at the top of their trees for over a month to stop the fossil fuckers from cutting down their tree to put it underneath their pipeline. Imagine living where you have a ticking time bomb under your home on a mountain on the Appalachian Trail, where when it explodes, you might, very likely are going to be maimed, dead, or paralyzed. So this is the concession made to Joe Manchin. I want to also show, support for coal miners with Black Lung. That's good.
That's good.
Agriculture, steel, ports, and more. Hundreds of billions for a 15% corporate minimum tax that none of these big corporations are going to pay.
Yeah.
124 billion from major enforcement increase at the IRS. Hopefully that 124 billion will be more enforcement to go after wealthy crooks rather than the poor. My guess is it's going to be the poor they're going after. I mean, I could go on and on, but Tina, before I go on my long rant, there's some people I respect that are saying, this is better than nothing. And it's better, it's better than the status quo fossil fuel. Ryan Grimm has made the point that maybe this will incentivize enough private investment that it gives clean, renewable solar at least a chance to be on par with fossil fuels. I also want to read this tweet thread. This is from, hold on. This is from Ben Spielberg, who's with Climate Group 34 Justice. He's the co-founder, because I thought this was a really good thread. If you have this, Colin, this is the tweet from Ben Spielberg. Where did I take it? The tax provisions, if still wanting, are the best part of the bill. But let's be real. Democrats also sided with corporate special interests in passing it. Fossil fuel and health insurance companies have been empowered to continue preying on the planet and people who need care. He continues, the Inflation Reduction Act is unlikely to have a big climate impact. The reduction projections, which aren't that far above the baseline, minimize potential impacts of fossil fuel giveaways, ignore the Manchin side deal, and are probably way too optimistic about green tax breaks. The Inflation Reduction Act will not substantially improve health care. Drug price measures are limited and restricted to Medicare, which Biden is privatizing. The ACA subsidy, Obamacare subsidy extension only keeps marketplace coverage somewhat less awful than it was before, while enriching the industry. Democratic Party's leadership's plan was always to pass a corporate-friendly bill in advance of the midterms that excludes most of the progressive priorities they pretend to want. It's clear why they're celebrating it as a huge win, but no social justice advocates should be. Bernie provides the rosiest assessment of the bill a social justice advocate can honestly give. Love the guy and sincerely appreciate him being the only senator to fight for something better. But one of the reasons the bill sucks is that his colleagues knew he wouldn't tank it, which we'll get to Bernie later. But I don't know, Tina, Colin, if you could put back your thumbnail. I don't know how you celebrate your house being on fire and the fire department coming with a water gun and a super soaker. Yeah. People might think I'm being, clever or dramatic, but
no, you're not being dramatic. This bill would have made sense in 1996. It's now 2022. And the fact that they're still protecting oil and gas leases, that they're still going to auction off drilling offshore, the fact that those things were protected is absolutely inexcusable. There's no reason for it. And why are we upgrading gas and coal facilities when we should be replacing them? It just...
Well, one of the things that they agreed to, because it wasn't just like one thing they gave Manchin, because he's a political terrorist.
Oh, it was multiple things. And you know what? Actually, sorry to disrupt you, what pisses me off the most is they were going after Bernie Sanders for his amendments. All of these amendments were good, and he said he was going to vote yes, regardless of whether they were added or not. So I don't think it's fair for them to attack him this way. But the fact that they were going after Sanders harder than they ever did about Manchin and his fossil fuel money and his side deals is just insane to me. And I'm pretty angry that guys like Alex Padilla were out there basically saying, I refuse to vote yes on these amendments because I want to protect the bill. And the fact that they were overselling it as this giant win. If they had actually come out and said something to the effect of, look, we tried really hard to get a better climate change deal. We tried hard to get insulin, for $35. We tried really hard to get these things, but we couldn't make it happen. This is the best we can do right now. That would be an honest assessment, right? But none of them can be honest about anything. Instead, they're going to try to oversell the American public on what is an incremental shitty bill that's not going to provide us with the things that we need to stop the damage that's coming with climate. The planet is dying. That's not a controversial statement.
No.
We have to deal with that.
And, let's just go through the list also so the audience knows. Kirsten Sinema also gave a big kiss to private equity firms. This is from the Washington Post.
How the hell was she ever part of the Green Party, by the way?
I don't know. Maybe the hair dye she uses got to her head. With Sinema's help, private equity firms win relief from proposed tax hikes.
Yeah.
Last minute changes to the Inflation Reduction Act, which is a preposterous name, by the way, pushed by the Democrat from Arizona, would protect the industry from a new minimum tax aimed at large corporations. And by the way, not only does this help protect them from the tax, it actually gave them expanded their loophole.
Yeah, exactly.
If you can believe that. But I also want to drill in, because this will be the messaging. You're already seeing the political fundraising emails come out. I also want to drill in, because I spoke with Michael Leidy. He's a fellow at the Sanders Institute, badass champion for Medicare for All, real expert. I interviewed him a couple of weeks ago asking, could you explain this whole like lowering prescription drug prices to me? Because it sounds like a bunch of bullshit to me. Let's explain what's in this bill. Michael Leidy explaining it.
Well, it means, Jordan, lowering prescription drug prices for people over 65 in Medicare and on a limited basis, that it would cap those individuals' out-of-pocket expenses at $2,000 per year, and would over the next really like 8 years include a set of drugs that would be limited in terms of price via negotiations with the manufacturers. Those drugs, there would be 10 in 2026, 15 in 27, 15 in 28, and 20 in 2029. So you're talking about a benefit that doesn't go into effect for 4 years. When it does go into effect, it will be limited to a set of drugs that are ranked by cost to Medicare. So they'll say, okay, here are all the drugs. Here's what they cost Medicare. Here are the top, cost drugs for us. We'll choose some of those to begin negotiations. But those drugs have to be beyond their patent at least 7 to 8 years after launch. And that means probably that those drugs that are not that old, when they do launch, will be higher priced. So it has that negative effect as well. But it doesn't apply to folks on private insurance. It obviously benefits people on private drug plans under Medicare, because those are the only drug plans you can get under Medicare, either the purchased ones under Part D or the drug plans that are included in Part C, Medicare Advantage. So there's obviously some assistance to the insurance companies as well. The overall savings is estimated to be about $300 billion. That is a drop in the bucket in the prescription drug market. And it just shows you how much excess revenue and profits exist in that market, because they can do this very limited program and still save hundreds of billions of dollars. But the truth is that it's probably the most limited version of anything that has really been on the table. It's a version of what the House passed, but a little bit more limited than that. And since it doesn't include people on private insurance, it obviously has a limited demographic effect. Finally, it doesn't include insulin, though they expect it to eventually, if there is a deal on prescription drugs, some version of limits on out-of-pocket costs for insulin would be included. However, those out-of-pocket limits are not expected to apply to the uninsured, who have the greatest problem affording insulin.
How's that for lowering your prescription drugs? If you're on Medicare, they'll cap you at $2,000.
Jesus Christ. I don't know if people realize when we added Part D, this was under the George W. Bush administration. Part of when they added Part D, part of what they included was that the government absolutely could not negotiate with pharmaceutical companies on costs, which is fucking asinine.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is the root cause of what we're trying to fix now. And how many years has this been?
Well, Bush, I think that was 2005, 2006. So yeah. By the way, smash the like button. We got almost 200 people watching, but not everyone has pressed the like button. If you don't like me, do it for Tina. Press that like button, thumbs up, share this live stream, commenting. Super chats are also appreciated. We'll read them at the end. And by the way, if you weren't here in the beginning, we are going to be taking calls for the first time today. We're going to do it through the call-in app. So make sure you download the call-in app, CALLIN. Follow Status Coup. And when I tell you it's call time, get on the call-in app, and you could raise your hand like normal when we do call-ins, and we're going to pipe it through the YouTube show. Lovers and haters are welcome for the calls. So, Tina, to me, and well, actually, it would be better to react to what the wealthy, out of touch white people say on the news. Anyway, Colin put together some of the clips. So let's see how the media is celebrating this historic deal.
Something that just a few years ago, many experts said was literally impossible. The revitalization of American manufacturing. Since I took office, we've created 642,000 American manufacturing jobs in America.
We begin with that breaking news on the economy. The jobs report showing U.S. employers added 528,000 jobs in July, more than double the 250,000 economists were expecting. The unemployment rate also edged down to 3.5%.
Last one, why is the president bragging today about gas prices?
Because it's gone down.
And today's report proves Make it in America isn't just a slogan, it's my administration. It's a reality.
Diane, I have to tell you, when these numbers crossed this morning, I had to do a double take because they are incredibly strong. As you said, double what Wall Street was expecting, 528,000 jobs added, which means we have basically regained all the jobs we lost during the pandemic.
Almost 10 million jobs since I took office. That's the fastest job growth in history. Today, we also matched the lowest unemployment rate in America in the last 50 years.
Back on jobs, I know you guys are keeping up with inflation to work on that. Look,
Feel good about job creation when you already have a job and you're dealing with rising prices.
Goes down, the price of gas needs to go down. He put it right to the oil companies. Every single day this summer, the price of gas is down. It's down well over $1. We're going to see today the average price of gas fall to $3.99. The most common price of gas in America now is $3.79. So by taking on these special interests, taking on these powerful interests, we're making progress on inflation. We're making progress for working families.
And as you know, economists are split over Democratic claims that this bill will reduce the cost of living. Republicans are seizing on that. Here's what Senate Minority Leader.
If you have it there, Tina, that's Biden and his aviators crowing about the jobs numbers, which I just did a reporting tour through, well, Colin and I, through Pennsylvania, Ohio, West Virginia. I could tell you there is an economic hellscape out there that these politicians and media are dressing up.
They're ignoring. I mean, listen, I don't care if you're adding 500,000 jobs that pay so little you can't pay your rent. What's happened is all of these jobs that they've added are very low wage jobs, and nobody's having that discussion. It doesn't fucking matter if people cannot pay rent and put food on the table.
Absolutely. But that was Ron Klain at the end saying that this Inflation Reduction Act, Biden took it to the special interest in this Inflation Reduction Act. Yeah, he took it to the special interest. If you mean took the cake, knocked on their door, handed it to them, let them eat it, and then said, "Can I save the crumbs for the masses?" They gave. I mean, literally, Shell and Exxon are doing tweets how great this is.
Exactly.
They're
talking about the lowering of the gas coming down from such a high number that is just stupid. It's been down every day this summer. I just spent $5.70 a gallon for gas yesterday. I don't know what this guy's talking about.
Right. But let's get to the progressives here. Because again, you know, it really comes down to, for some things, it's better than nothing still means like apocalypse. So it's better than nothing for this is not really an answer, because the truth is, let's say the Democrats keep the House and the Senate. You think they're going to go further than this? Seriously, you think they're going to go further than this?
No, I don't, Jordan. And I think the inevitable outcome of this, the fact that they're continuing to ignore the income inequality in the country and the economic pain that a lot of working class folks are feeling, it just, when they go out there and they celebrate this as like such a giant win without being honest, and they're being incredibly disingenuous about the state of affairs, what it does is it just feeds into the nihilist tendencies that are already existing in the American public.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I want to get to the Bernie and whatever the squad is called these days. Colin, do we have the clip? I had it in a video earlier today, but Bernie trying to push amendments through and Sherrod Brown basically telling him to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, that was bad.
The rescue plan included a $300 a month child tax credit, which ended up lowering the child poverty rate in America by over 40%. Over 40% reduction in childhood poverty, which in my view was an extraordinary achievement. Unfortunately, for the millions of working parents who benefited from this program, it expired in December. This amendment would restore the expanded child tax credit for 4 years and give millions of working families the opportunity to raise their children in dignity and security. And it would be fully paid for by restoring the top corporate tax rate from 21% to 28%. Let us reduce child poverty in America. Let us demand that the largest corporations start paying their fair share of taxes. I urge my colleagues to vote for this amendment.
Madam President.
Senator from Ohio.
Yeah, Senator Sanders is right. The child tax credit's one of the most important things this body did. It brought down the child poverty rate by 40%. Almost immediately. We passed it in March. The Secretary of the Treasury had it up and running by June or by July, and it made a huge difference in people's lives. I appreciate especially the work that Senator Bennett and also Senator Booker and Senator Warnock have done on this. But I ask my colleagues to vote no, because this will bring the bill down, a very good bill. We will continue to work hard on this every step of the way. Senator Bennett, I yield to.
Madam President.
Senator from Colorado.
Madam President, last year we demonstrated to the American people that we don't have to accept this outrageous, shameful level of childhood poverty in our nation. We have 38 out of 41 industrialized countries in the world in terms of childhood poverty. The poorest people in our country are our children. And because we passed this bill last year, we demonstrated that doesn't have to be a permanent feature of our economy or of our democracy. And we have to fight to make this enhanced child tax credit permanent, and that's what I will do with people on both sides of the aisle. But this does not advance that cause, because we could lose the underlying bill, and therefore we should vote against the amendment. Thank you.
Madam President.
Senator from Vermont.
If I could ask my friend from Ohio, why would passage of this amendment or getting 48 votes on this amendment bring the overall bill down?
Madam President, Senator Sanders, the arrangement in this is all 50 Democrats support this. We know every single Republican has voted against the child tax credit, not once last March, but twice. But we know that this is a fragile arrangement, and we've got to pass it as much as
Senator from Ohio, all time has expired.
Come on, Bernie.
The question is on the amendment.
Come on, Bernie. Come on, Bernie. Come on, Bernie. Did you hear Sherrod Brown at the end? Listen, Tina, everyone's got a different style. I've never jumped on to Fraud Squad and all those things because I'm a journalist and I'm not going to do that. But I got to tell you, I think that Manchin and Sinema are obviously the easy scapegoats. They deserve a ton of blame here. Let's not.
So why are they going after Bernie Sanders harder than they are Manchin and Sinema? It's absolutely ludicrous to me.
Right. But I will say, I think that what doomed us to this piece of rump roast was we have, Bernie Sanders, just because he's, done a lot of good doesn't mean he's beyond criticism. And since Biden became president, Bernie did protest in front of the White House when Obama was president. I remember he protested on the Dakota Access Pipeline that Obama was allowing this brutality to happen in North Dakota. I remember he protested quite a bit, and he did not shoot down right away that he might run against primary Obama in 2011 and 2012. But here you have, basically a year ago was the time for Bernie, for the squad to say, we're not giving you our votes for anything, unless either tell Biden, unless you do X, Y, and Z executive action,
unless we get rid of the filibuster, we could put that on the table.
right. And let the chips fall where they fall.
I agree.
Let the media crucify you, because your current strategy, which has basically been meet with Biden at the White House, if you're Bernie, meet with Biden's chief of staff, Ron Klain, who, maybe pacifies you, and, not show up for Nina Turner. That was, other than Bernie, none of them endorsed Nina Turner. AOC endorsed her like the morning of the primary, literally the morning of. And essentially to play this diplomatic game with the Democratic Party, and almost like you're believing them that no, we really want to do these things, but we can't get Manchin's vote, we can't get Sinema's vote. Manchin did not have any pressure on him whatsoever.
Exactly, that's the problem. That is the problem. The fact that they've gone after Bernie Sanders much harder than they have Manchin is emblematic. I couldn't get that word out, of what's wrong with the Democratic Party.
Yes. But also, I got to say, the fact that Bernie and the squad did not leverage their base. There's a lot of progressives, including in this audience, that were waiting for the bat signal. We're going to West Virginia. We're going to speak to Joe Manchin's constituents. We're going to ask them. He says if he can't go explain it to the people of West Virginia, he can't vote for it. Well, I'd like to go to West Virginia and hear from them. Do they need the child tax credit? Not just progressives, Republicans. I want to ask them, do they want paid sick leave? Because Joe Manchin says he's got to answer the people of West Virginia. Do they, if we could get them clean energy jobs that pay good money, are they married to coal? There was none of that.
None of
it. The biggest protest AOC's done is wearing a tax the rich dress at the Met Gala, and she felt comfortable going to protest outside the Supreme Court over Roe. I mean, there was very little protest of this, and maybe I'm naive, but most politicians are insecure creatures. They're thin-skinned. Joe Manchin, the most pressure he had was a bunch of activists, God bless them, paddling up to his little boat yacht. A bunch of activists, getting close to jumping on his Maserati. But that's it. There was no pressure from Biden. There was no pressure from the White House. There was no pressure for the Democratic leadership. The only pressure was Bernie wrote an op-ed in a West Virginia newspaper when it was closer to the 3.5 trillion deal. But the point is, obviously something changed, because reports are Manchin agreed to this shit sandwich because he didn't like getting tarred and feathered as basically the impediment to Biden passing anything. So he agreed to this. But I really think, were you going to
play chicken with him? I mean, because what he agreed to, the fact that they're still handing out oil and drilling permits, the fact that they're still going to protect federal drilling is just like that. Those should have been non-starters.
Yeah.
I just didn't understand how in 2022, with the clear and obvious problem, like nobody can be in climate change denial at this point. I mean, you have to be really fucking stupid to be that person.
And also,
we need to do something. Like it's very urgent.
And by the way, Tina, connected to, since they're calling it the Inflation Reduction Act, Biden 3 months ago, 4 months ago, he could have said, "Oh, okay, fossil fuel companies." He wrote them a letter kindly asking them to lower gas prices. He could have said, "Hey, we give you $15 billion a year in free money."
Exactly. Pull the subsidies, enough.
Yes.
Pull the credits, enough.
JFK did it.
Exactly.
Steel companies. So, it's just, to me, I don't know where you go from here, because you're either going to have it looks like, according to 538, which is the polling place, Democrats are looking like they'll keep the Senate. Still think the Republicans are going to win the House. So then you have more gridlock for the next year and a half. Republicans pushing for, impeachment hearings over Hunter Biden and whatever else. And the temperature is going to keep getting worse. The storms are
we're going to go nowhere.
And
the only thing saving the Democrats right now really is Roe v. Wade.
Yes.
In my opinion.
And we're being sold that tax incentive. I mean, listen, will more people buy electric vehicles with a $8,000 subsidy.
It's $7,000 for new and $4,000 for used, I believe.
Right. So yeah, there's going to be modest improvement, but here's the problem. Again, the time for modest improvement, I agree, was 2 decades ago.
Exactly.
You can't turn around, the increasing temperatures and all of this destruction with tax incentives. That is the definition of neoliberal insanity. I understand, like the Ryan Grimm, he wrote a piece. Well, it's better, doing nothing. Okay, but again, we're at the point where we have to accept this.
But it's not enough.
Right.
Better isn't going to do it.
Right.
Jordan, do you remember the whole ozone layer, the depletion, and then there was a hole in the ozone layer about 15 years ago now? Do you remember what this happened down in it was like over Peru in South America, but it was moving a little bit. So this was a very serious problem. If you were anywhere where this ozone layer was gone, you had to wear hat, gloves, and fully cover your skin because there was nothing to protect you from the UV rays from the sun, right? The ozone layer is really important. At that particular moment in time, every country on the planet, they knew the problem was the aerosols, right? That was causing the depletion of the ozone. They acted in unison globally to end that. And now the ozone layer came back and there's no longer a hole down there. Where is that now? Because the urgency is just as big, but yet nothing. Like instead we have these, incremental bills that aren't going to fix the problem. Where's the urgency? I just don't understand. Like, is the change simply that we have more corrupt politicians that are being bought and paid for by corporate interests? Is it just the wealthy people have now, because we're not all like in our silos in each country, right? So the plutonium is a global thing. It goes everywhere. It doesn't stop at state or country borders.
Yeah.
So just the changes, these minimal changes that I'm talking about and others have kind of dampened the will to get anything meaningful done quickly. And it's really scary.
Absolutely. The thing is, here's the thing. Basically, they're more worried about elections than the planet. And what I mean by
100%.
what I mean by that, because we live in the United Corporations of America, there's the flag. Get your United Corporations of America t-shirt at statuscoup.com/store. What I mean by that is they don't want to piss off the donors. Wall Street is heavily invested in fossil fuel infrastructure. Let me repeat. Wall Street is heavily invested in fossil fuel infrastructure. Wall Street is heavily invested in the pharmaceutical industry. Who's the Democratic Party sugar daddy and sugar mama? Wall Street. Same thing with the Republicans. Let's not, pretend that they voted for any of this. They in unison were against all of this.
The Republican Party is not even up for discussion because they're so terrible. They are completely insane. They are getting more crazy by the day. They're not reformable. This is why I don't spend a lot of energy discussing them, because I've written them off, just to be clear.
Right. So what is going on here is Democratic Party, forget the progressives, but Biden, Schumer, Nancy, all these people, they don't want to actually fight Manchin. They don't want to actually fight Sinema. They don't want to go on offense because they need
the money. They need the corporate money.
Even in their minds, maybe they want more than Manchin and Sinema will allow. They need the money for the Senate campaigns, the House campaigns, the DNC, the governor's races. And if they start going after, if they went aggressive, it would go against a lot of their donors' interests in pharma, Wall Street, fossil fuels. And that's why we basically are run by a bunch of sociopaths. That's what's going on. So hold on.
The reason Nancy Pelosi is in that position, right, is because she is a fundraiser.
Right. Absolutely. Oh, are you going to her Napa fundraiser, the big one?
Maybe. So for folks that don't know, every year in Napa Valley, where her second home is, she has this big second home there, although she says it's moderate for the area, but let's be honest here, it's a very large estate. She does this fundraising thing in August, in summer every year. So it goes on for 2 or 3 days up there, but all the wealthy donors come into town. They have various events that are set up, whining and dining at night, the whole nine.
I think
don't think they'll let me in, Jordan.
I think we could get some counterfeit money. I think we can get some counterfeit money. I think you could dress pretty convincingly as a Napa socialite. and I think we could get you in. So we'll see.
All right, we'll see.
All right, Colin, let me know. I want to take calls on this before we get to the CPAC insanity. So, folks, if you have not downloaded the call-in app, we are now going to, I think everything's going to work. I hope. We want to take your calls. So go on our call-in. Colin just put it in the link in the super chat. Click on the call-in link. And like a normal call-in show, after you've got into the room, raise your hand to, call in. And we're going to pipe you through right here. So want to hear what you think on this historic bill. Anything else you want to talk about? Leftist therapy, whatever the case may be. But we want to talk to you. We invite friends and foes. Just try and keep it somewhat respectful. So Colin, let me know when we have a caller and all that. But another thing about this that really drives me insane is, don't these people have grandkids? Nancy Pelosi's always talking about the children. Schumer's, all these people are in their 70s and 80s. Do they not care that tax incentives and grants and these things are not really going to stop the planetary inferno? It's just mind-blowing, including the media.
It's mind-blowing because I don't see how they could be in such deep denial over what's happening at this point. I really don't.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Colin, let me know when we have the call-in thing set up. Before we'll move on to this next topic while we're waiting. But Tina, this is your wheels. And by the way, folks, we will be premiering possibly this week if we can get our shit together. Tina is going to have a weekly show. The loose working title is This Week in Right-Wing Insanity. So stay tuned for that. We're thinking maybe Thursdays. And what should the audience expect on your weekly show?
Well, I hope to just be covering what's going on with right-wing extremism. I think some folks actually thought if Trump was out of office that would tamp down. That's absolutely not been the case. If anything, it's increased. And I do think that's going to keep happening. These guys are more emboldened by the day. And you see sort of to use their rhetoric, the normies are being red-pilled, right? So people that were, run-of-the-mill Republicans are continuing to be more radicalized to even further right mentalities. For example, I know 3 or 4 ex-Proud Boys that are now full-blown neo-Nazis. And in fact, I have an article coming out this week in the Daily Dot about Proud Boys that have been selling ghost guns. So please check that out. But one of them is now a full-fledged neo-Nazi. He runs a Telegram chat called Proud Goy. So, you can derive from that what is obvious. So I hope to be just covering these things. And I think going into the midterm elections, we're going to see a lot more shenanigans going on because I do think Trump is going to run again. I do think DeSantis is going to give a run. Both of those candidates are very extreme. At the end of the month, for example, and also Modesto, they're having a straight pride rally, which I'm actually dubbing the straight white pride rally at this point because there's definitely a full-blown racism attached to this.
Right. So, folks, the call-in link is in the chat. We are live on call-in. We got 5 whole listeners. So we need a lot more to call in on call-in. If you want to call in to the show and it come through YouTube, you got to get on the call-in app and raise your hand. And we'll talk about this, whatever else you want. So don't be shy. Call in, and you could be the first ever caller on this here program.
Is that just a phone app, or can you do it on a desktop too?
Colin, could you do it on desktop? I don't think so.
It's just phone? Okay.
I think it's just phone. So call in because we want to pipe you through here on the YouTube show. But I got to tell you, I'm very excited because obviously, we take on the Democrats here a lot. But there's just so much. I mean, we're going to go through it now. You got Trump apparently told his generals to be more like the Nazi generals. At CPAC, we're going to play the clips, but they were kind of tongue-in-cheek bragging that they're all domestic terrorists. Ted Cruz, Matt Gaetz. I mean, these were really, really, really bonkers kind of segments. So until we get the first caller, let's go to that. So, Colin, let's start with the CPAC straw poll because Tina, I don't know. I've been kind of, I think it's been overblown, like the DeSantis momentum. I don't think DeSantis has the it that Trump has. I mean, they're both pretty awful. But in the CPAC straw poll that was just held in Texas, Trump 69%, DeSantis 23%, Teddy at 2%, and the rest of the the rest of the junior class down at 1%. So at least at CPAC, Trump is still very strong. And also, you got to remember, Tina, once he announces, which we believe will be shortly before the midterms, maybe right after the midterms, I mean, I would find it hard for Twitter to keep him blocked. So once back at it, and he's tweeting, 10 times an hour, and the news cycle is covering him every hour on the hour what he tweets because that's their oxygen for ratings. Then I do not think DeSantis, who by all reports is kind of an awkward dude.
He's not a cult leader. I mean, the thing about Trump that you're getting at that I think is true is that Trump is definitely a cult leader. He's an iconoclast. People are really attached to him and they haven't given up on that. I would also caution that the CPAC audience that had participated in that poll, these are definitely a little bit more extreme Republicans than what you're going to get from the average business kind of loving Republican. So it is going to be distorted towards that demographic. I do think that the business interests that are not, in tow with Trump's fascism or racism and whatnot, are not QAnon folks, whatever. I think that they might prefer DeSantis to Trump, obviously. So hard to say. I think you have two different dynamics within the Republican Party that we're looking at right now. One of the things that is drawing CPAC more to the right, though, even though it's always been pretty right-wing, Tea Party, TPUSA kind of things. But Nick Fuentes, who is a Groyper, he is a neo-Nazi guy. He runs something called America First, which is exactly what it sounds. It's a nationalist organization. He has been running the last couple of cycles his America First convention at the same time in the same location as CPAC. So you can go to CPAC during the day and then head over to Nick Fuentes' thing in the evening. Although now the CPAC people are trying to, distance themselves from Nick Fuentes because he is absolutely, a right-wing Nazi. So hard to say where this is going to play out, but this is definitely a more radicalized group than what you would have seen in the Republican Party, 5-10 years ago.
Absolutely. And I think I'm doing this right. To the call-in folks, hopefully you could hear me. What we're doing here is I'm on YouTube Live. We opened the call-in app, so call in like you normally do on the call-in app, and it will pipe you through to our YouTube channel. So if you're hearing me on call-in, we're going to try to do this on the daily now. So you could call in here on call-in, and it will bring you through to our YouTube channel. Do not be shy. We're all friends here. Even if we're not friends, we could pretend. So call in. We got some regulars here. We're talking the, quote, historic climate crumb cake bill and CPAC as well. So feel free to call in. Don't make me have my hat in hand and nobody wants to call in, which would depress me. All right. So let's play some. Oh, we got our first caller. Holy cow. All right. Let's see if it works. Denise, you're up. Unmute yourself.
Oh, let me mute the computer because I'm going to be double. Yeah, I think I'm unmuted.
I hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you too. Yeah.
Holy cow, it works.
Okay.
Woo-hoo!
Oh, we're hearing you. We're hearing you double.
Yeah, I am walking away from the computer because I can only do one thing at a time.
There we go.
Okay, I have stepped away, and I think there might be a lag in my computer and the call-in anyway. I just wanted to state that it really blows me away how we keep voting for people, and then they do opposite of taking care of us over and over and over, decade after decade. If this isn't taxation without representation, I don't know what is. Why did we start this country?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
It makes me insane.
I completely agree, and I think that's in many ways why you have fascism on the rise right now.
I agree.
Because people like you are getting fed up. Not that you're like, a fascist, but if you don't have anything to hope for, if you throw up your hands and say they're all corrupt, and you don't have a populist alternative to the right wing, then you become very susceptible to
the
phonies.
message. I agree. There needs to be a left, what I call a left exit. We haven't had a left exit to income inequality in the country, and that's only opening the gate to the right exit, which is full-blown, America First populism and everything that entails.
Absolutely.
Agreed. I absolutely believe that anybody who's full-born believing it's either the right or the left, you are part of the problem, man.
Denise, let me ask you, maybe, I don't know, maybe some people would say, Jordan, you're being too harsh. Do you think that this is a historic deal, this climate deal? Because what I see is our house. Go ahead.
It's crumbs. You've said it perfectly. It's crumbs. They are doing what they always do. They give us enough to shut us up and keep us busy thinking that somebody is fighting for us, when really they're just compromising in the middle so that they can keep going towards the fascist right and keep the wealthy elite happy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Colin, I don't know how to answer this. Ames says, I don't know which one to listen to. Are we on YouTube or Colin? We're on both.
Oh, we're on both.
Have YouTube open. Have Colin open.
If the audio overall is probably better on YouTube, once you call in, though, you probably won't want to listen to YouTube because you'll hear you'll hear your own voice. Yeah. So if you call in, you want to mute YouTube.
Yes. And I'm just going to say, Denise, I've always said, and Tina, I'm sure you have experiences with this because you've been in local media. There's a problem in media that's not just when they say diversity in media, it's not only a lack of black faces, brown faces. We have too many really, really grossly wealthy white people that do not give a shit. They got their electric cars already. They're on the 20th floor of their high-rise apartment or in their mansions. Their homes, their beach homes are probably they probably built it up to avoid flooding, because that's happening now that they're raising beachfront homes. So they're very disconnected. I mean, I got news for you.
They're insular.
The road trip I just took, Tina, with Colin. I mean, you don't have to go far to find out. It is an economic nightmare for most people out there. And these people on CNBC and CNN and MSNBC and Thomas Friedman of the New York Times, double the job numbers. Yeah, they're all fucking shitty jobs.
They're shitty jobs that don't pay enough. Yeah. The other thing I'm seeing with local media too, and I'm sure Jordan can attest to this, is oftentimes they're too lazy to do the real work. Like, so if you get let's say, for example, you get a press release from the mayor's office, or you get a press release from, the local police department. For me, it would be the LAPD. If you're just going to verbatim report what they're telling you and not check on that, see what the other side has to say, you're not doing your job. But I see that happening quite a bit. Okay, well, the mayor says that we spent this and that this is what's going to be the outcome of that, blah, 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 blah. Come on now. That's just PR. You're doing PR work for an elected official who's not giving you the full story.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I got to say, Denise, you have made history today as the first
You're right.
on Status Coup's YouTube channel.
It took 53 years.
Exactly. And Tina, I think there's a lot of possibilities with this, honestly.
I love it. No, I love interactive stuff. So this is great.
I'm not a licensed therapist, but we can do a little leftist therapy. I'm happy to do a dating
I'm
show.
going to let number 2 go because I don't know how long I'm supposed to stay on here, but I'm pretty sure Never Fall wants to speak, right?
Yes. Thank you, Denise.
Good speaking with you guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Love your show.
All right. Never Fall. You're up.
Can you guys hear me?
I can.
Yes.
Cool. Thanks for letting me talk. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Love your hat, Jordan.
Thank you. My wife got it for me.
Thanks, sweet. Just want to, hash out some differences so that we can come together as media and start working on the solutions, because the climate bill missed the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Every media missed it. We're waiting for after the fact so that we can come in and act like we're heroes or something. I don't know what it is, but, I told you guys a year ago what was in this climate bill, and you guys have banned me, silenced me. Like, we're just not going to get the job done like that.
Who
The
banned
climate
you?
bill is clear.
Who banned you?
Hold on, I never get to land my plane. I would love to just land my plane.
Okay.
The climate bill is $69 billion for poor people, and it's $300 billion for rich people. It's just that simple. There's nothing else that really needs to be said about it. It's a trash bill. I'm tired of rich people getting rich. I'm tired of being ignored when I tell people how to go about stopping it a year before it happens. Now we have to get in front of the pipeline like the No Dapple crew and fight it at the source instead of through the Senate. The other thing I want to say is it's not a doomerism bill. Like I've been telling you, if we can unite, start getting funding towards solar, small homes, biogas, and renewable energies for low-income people, then we can do it en masse. We don't need the bill. We can shut down the oil by not partaking in it. It's just that simple. We need to focus on donations to people who provide solar to low-income areas, internet to low-income areas, and the important priorities instead of super chat bucks. It's just that simple, man. All of these networks, man, TYT, Sam Cedar, Ron Flacone, all of them, it's super chat bucks, super chat bucks, super chat bucks, and they all missed the ball. Not one of them read the bill. Not one of them did. Look at their news. I was the first news to drop it. Not one person saw it because Twitter and their shadow bans, but I tell you exactly what's in this bill.
How did you read this bill a year ago if they just drafted it?
Bro, because I know what's in. I've been trying to tell you, I know people that know people, man. I know what's in the bill, dude. I know what's going in the bill. I've been trying to tell you.
I don't know.
Policy is not going to work. Policy's not going to work, and our only hope is going to be to do it ourselves. That's what this bill just told us.
But you keep talking. I'm sorry, but you keep referring to it like like. Did we have a private discussion? Like I don't know what you mean.
Yes, we did. I was a member, a paid member of your network.
Okay.
I paid you to listen to me.
Okay.
And you didn't listen a year ago, man, on your little members thing, dude. So I want to hash out, get past it, and move on.
But
I don't want this to become really quick.
I don't get what we
want
didn't
this to
listen
become a Steven Crowder, Sam Cedar type of deal right off the bat. I respect you. I respect your journalism. The problem is when I went to you and said, look at all these networks banning me when I'm trying to tell you what is going to happen with climate change bills in the future in general, that this is what's going to happen and that we need to start focusing on how we can do it. And the bill just told us that. The bill just said, fuck you guys, the rich are getting the money, the poor have to work it out on their own if they want climate change to be a thing. And how do we do that? We start funding solar, biofuels, at-home renewable energies, which take the money out of the corporate pocket and put it in the little guy's hands, and also puts the money directly in the consumer's hands. I'm trying to tell you, been trying to tell you, I pay $620 a month to own a home on 4.45 acres, and I have 0 utility bills for life. That is doable by every single person in the world if you just listen and start getting funding towards that. Not me, towards that.
Okay, well, first of all,
just that simple. I don't care about clicks. It's about in your show, instead of bitching about Trump every single day, dude, or who the corrupt shit, putting solar on your show and saying, this is what we got to do. This is how you get solar in your hand right now, starting with a $20 solar panel that charges your phone, a $100 solar panel that charges your laptop, a portable solar unit that will save you $60,000 over 50 years if you just invest $1,100 now on a credit card instead of paying the electric bill, and then rooftop solar. Those are the stories that are progressive, dude.
I think those are great ideas, but
not Ron DeSantis.
Okay,
I'm sick of seeing those right-wing faces, man.
Okay, well, first of all, I think you might be confusing us with those shows you mentioned. I barely cover Trump, so I don't really know what you're talking about. And I could promise
many DeSantis stories, bro. So many corruption stories. Point the finger.
Start your own YouTube channel then, if you don't like what I cover.
I've been telling you for a year that I have a channel, and you don't listen.
So you've talked.
You don't uplift people who know what they're talking about.
All right. First of all, I don't know if you know this, but like, you're not the only person that reaches out to me. So, bro, I have a lot of people that email me
Jordan?
and message me.
How many
I
times?
know that you seem to think elevated
blocked
of
me on
yourself
Twitter.
that I should.
Hold on. You blocked me on Twitter. Don't talk over. You blocked me on Twitter, so you're aware of me. Don't try to act like you're not aware of me.
No, I literally am not. I don't think you realize how many people message out to me. I literally don't know who you are.
Your viewers know you're full of it right now. They've seen me in your chats. They've seen me on live chats. They've seen me in your show.
Okay.
They've heard me call in.
All right.
They've seen me make videos about you, dude. Stop bullshitting, dude. You know who I am, man.
I don't know who you are. I have no idea.
You know, I got rid of him.
You should tell us who you are. I mean,
Pointless. But I will respond to the point. First of all, this is I don't know if you've had this, Tina, but there's some activists that actually think like, I don't mean it in a condescending way, but there's some activists that truly don't get that, like, I have 30 people DMing me at one time and emailing me at one time, and like I remember if I blocked him. Yeah, you have a very high opinion of yourself. Secondly, I think your ideas are great on solar. The problem with that, I don't think you realize that most people
can't afford
even the cheaper things you're talking about. Like, I just went on a road trip. Most people are having trouble literally just like affording rent right now. So the $120 solar thing that you're talking about that might seem like a no-brainer to you, a lot of people can't afford that.
No. The $600 in rent that you're paying is fantastic. I wish everybody had that ability, but absolutely not. It's not possible to get that low of a rent here in Los Angeles. Your average studio is like $2,000 a month. Your average house now, if you want to buy a house, is $800,000 to $1 million. Like, it's
right. Tina, a woman I interviewed on the road, I literally asked her, well, what do you think about, at this point, mass protests? She said, I can't afford to get to the protest. I can't afford gas. So, like, I think a lot of your ideas are good. I think you should probably work on your interpersonal skills. But the problem also is you could do all those things. It doesn't change. The problem is gas. Solar is not going to, like, people get triggered by the word mandates, but the truth is, Tina, we need mandates, not incentives. You need to mandate companies to move off of fossil fuels. That is the mandates we need, not incentivize them and this and that, because there's going to be companies that take you up on it, and there's going to be companies that do it halfway, and there's going to be companies that want to ride the last ride on the fossil fuel train. So unless you immediately start mandating, like Defense Production Act style, companies to do the right thing, you're not going to get there. And thirdly, to this guy or anybody else, like, I don't mean it condescending. I don't know who you are. I generally block people if they're anti-Semitic, if they, bring up things from 5 years ago that are not true about me. And thirdly, I'm sorry to tell you, super chats are not what's stopping us from saving the planet. And I can't speak for Ron or anybody else, but like, contrary to other channels, I actually go on the road. So it costs a lot of money to do real reporting. I pay Tina, I pay others that do it for us. So I need super chats. It's not for my ego, and it's not to go have a steak dinner. Now, Tina, before we take the next caller, because we could stay on this, but other things, I want to play some of these CPAC clips and stay in the queue to the call-in people, because I'm going to take your calls. I don't mind haters, but like, you're bitching at me because, like, I didn't listen to you for a year. Do you know how many people reach out to me? It's just not the way to approach people if you want to be taken seriously. But Colin, can we play? Let's start with just whichever was the first Trump clip. And by the way, I don't cover Trump every day. I don't cover DeSantis every day. But contrary to what you think, I do think coverage of people that are literally trying to stop free speech in America, that are trying to put gag orders on gay people, that are trying to seize public education, I think we could do more than one thing at a time. I think that should be covered. Let's play the first Trump clip at CPAC.
And if federal bureaucrats are going to push this radicalism, we should abolish the Department of Education.
I just, yeah.
Well, it's funny because
It's funny, but it's not. I mean, he's serious.
well, Betsy DeVos, who was the education secretary, she wants to abolish it too. So that's good.
Completely privatize it.
By the way, unrelated, we do have a massive teacher shortage right now because teachers are fucking fed up too in this country.
Yeah, they can't. They're so unbelievably underpaid. It's insane.
Let's go to the next Trump clip.
The children of elderly people in the nursing homes were so angry. My father did not vote. He's comatose. He's been sick. He's ready to die. He'll be dead very soon. He didn't vote.
So Trump still going with the dead people voted thing for YouTube's sake. Joe Biden won the election. Trump did not win the election. Have to say that on YouTube. So Trump's still going with the that jazz.
Yep.
One more Trump one. This was great. It's muted, Colin.
That's the one with the music.
Oh, right. Okay. So we don't have it. So this was just the Trumpies listening to the it's and I'm proud to be an American. Because this is what I'm talking about, that DeSantis doesn't have the it. Trump juices up the old Republicans, the old white supremacists, the young, MAGA machismo, American patriot crowd. DeSantis doesn't do that. And I don't think he has that. I want to stay on the line. We're going to take more callers. I also want to get to our friend. This one was Matt Gaetz, who I guess they don't care that he has credible, child sex trafficking accusations against him. That Vice President Pence's former, you have that Business Insider article, Colin. Pence's former chief of staff hits back at Matt Gaetz, saying he'll likely be in prison for child sex trafficking.
Yeah.
So, hey, let's invite him anyway to speak at CPAC. Let's show Matt Gaetz.
I am a Florida man. I'm an America First fighter. And I am proud to be Nancy Pelosi's worst nightmare in the United States House of Representatives. Being a woke-topian in America today just looks exhausting. You have to be aggrieved and insulted by everything. Someone forwards the wrong joke. You have to grab your pearls. Someone says something that's politically incorrect, which I have occasion to do. They got to throw you in Twitter jail, put you in the Facebook gulag. Well, you know what? We are proud to stand here as patriotic Americans. This is the greatest country on earth, and we will never let a socialist politician or a spoiled celebrity or athlete ever tell us something different. And when people get to talking now, you got to start by disclaiming all your privileges, right? Your white privilege, your male privilege. If you're tall, you might have a privilege. I think I have a Florida privilege. A few folks made it over on I-10. But you know what? That's all.
Yeah. He's also got a privilege of abusing and exploiting minors for his sexual gratification.
Yeah, it's fucking insane. He's probably going to end up with child pornography charges. What kills me though is these are the same folks that are calling gay people groomers and pedophiles.
Yeah, it's insane. Absolutely insane. And by the way, this socialism, these are the people that literally Democrats didn't fight for it because they don't want it. But all of these Republicans, one of their things that they tried to block or did block was a $35 cap on insulin. Yeah, who's that socialism for? Your big pharma donors. Yep. You live socialism just for your corporate Neanderthal donors and your Chamber of Commerce buddies.
Also, it's really comical that they even think the Democratic Party is socialist. It's like, what are you guys smoking? We wish.
I want it. Now we're going to take the next caller, but I got to get to Ted Cruz first.
Okay.
Hang on, Tony. You're next.
He was obsessed with Antifa. It's kind of hilarious.
Yes. So let's. Ted Cruz, Colin.
United States shakes hands. I am on the road nonstop, number one, to win back the House and Senate, but number two, to actually elect real conservatives with backbone and principle. So that when we have the majority, we can do something. And I'm going to make a prediction right now, which is come November. South Texas is turning red. We're going to elect not one, not two, but 3 Republicans from South Texas, all Hispanic women. And I can't wait to see Adam Schiff. By the way, that's a sentence that's never before been uttered in the English language. I can't wait to see Adam Schiff. And Nancy Pelosi talking to 3 Hispanic women from the Rio Grande Valley explaining how the United States shakes hands with the empty air. That ain't normal. If you look at what's happening in Washington, everything is going wrong. We got out of control inflation. The cost of everything is going through the roof. The cost of food through the roof. The cost of electricity through the roof. The cost of health care through the roof. The cost of gasoline through the roof. It's so bad, Antifa can't afford bricks. It is so bad, Eric Swalwell can't afford Chinese dinners.
First of all, there's zero chance Ted Cruz came up with either of those jokes.
No.
That was probably some
He
right
should
wing.
have said cans of soup, like if he wanted to be funny.
But you know what's funny? You know what's funny? This idiot and this corrupt ghoul is one of the biggest recipients of money from Goldman Sachs, where his wife used to work. I don't know if she still does. And he's sitting here, you know, waxing poetic about socialism and woke and all this shit. All these people are corrupt. But frankly, most of these Republican voters, in my experience, again, part of this is because they have no alternative. Part of this is just ignorance. But they have no idea they're being screwed and just being tossed a bunch of distractions and bullshit and nonsense. These people are taking the same money that Democrats are making. In some cases,
absolutely are. It's wild to me that people don't see this so clearly. So they serve the same donors, right? If you look at the wealthy donors in the country, they give to both parties. They're going to give to anybody that's going to feather their nest. They don't give a shit about party politics, right? So this is true. Yet here you have these Republicans listening to the clear and actually correct, I hate to say it, diagnosis of the problems, right? Inflation, prices going through the roof. You can't afford your rent. You're getting paid too little. So both voters on both sides have the same beefs with our government, right? The same, pointing out the same problems. The difference is the left side isn't providing the left exit that we talked about earlier, leaving only this right-wing rhetoric, the populist America First rhetoric, as the answer. And as these people get more disenfranchised and nihilist, they end up, well, maybe they're actually going to do something for me. It's really problematic.
absolutely. All right, back to the calls. I'm loving this. I wanted to get in radio back in the day. Tony, you're up.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can.
Awesome. Great job, or great work to the both of you. First off, you do outstanding work, both of you. So keep it up. I just wanted to kind of touch back with that last caller just a little bit.
Don't yell at me for not answering you for a year, please.
No. But it just seemed like he genuinely wanted to see some positive change, and it seemed like what he was searching for was just more solutions based. I don't know. He wanted to see solutions. And I think that's something that Graham Elwood talks a lot about on his show, is he likes to provide solutions. And what he was bringing up doesn't fit for you, like you mentioned. I mean, you need all the money you guys can get to travel all over the place. But yeah, I mean, some stuff like that where you can throw in money to, you know, support low income solar or community gardening or whatever it is. It's something that, you know, people with some sort of shows could do, I suppose, or just communities themselves getting together to do that too. So,
mutual aid, yeah, 100%.
Not far off, but
well, a few
yeah,
things.
I mean, when you get so upset about things, it's hard to get your point across. You know.
Well, a few things I would respond to that. Number one, for me personally, I don't really think it's appropriate for like a journalist per se to be, you know, like, hey, I'm going to take, I can't, even though people know how I believe, like I don't take proceeds and like give it to the people of Flint, because that's a story I cover, you know? So like I might personally, I don't need to get into private stuff, but I've helped some people out personally, not with Status Coup's money, but as a journalist, like I can't be saying like, hey, donate to us and we're going to give the money to solar or this or that. That's just not appropriate.
It's unethical.
Yeah, it's not totally appropriate for like a journalistic platform to be doing that. Now, for, you know, like commentators or people like that, of course, they could do that. But I think like connecting like super chats and things like that to like, this is the reason we don't have solar, you know, things like that. I don't really see the connection there. Like people need to live too. Like, so Graham Elwood or Ron or this and that, like it's not a hobby. Like this is one of their main ways of income. And I would say the people he was mentioning, Ron Placone, this and that, compared to like, I don't know, TYT, do a lot more substantive stuff, which is probably why they don't get the views, because YouTube does not favor doing actual substantive reporting. But I don't need to defend myself to people like that. I mean, I don't see anybody else going out on a Sunday covering a Starbucks worker strike. I don't see anybody else going during a fucking 98-degree heat wave through 3 states, driving 1,500 miles. So, I mean, it doesn't make me perfect. I'm not beyond criticism, but compared to these other channels, I don't know any other outlet, Tina, that does the reporting we do, the on-the-ground reporting. So if I want to cover Ron DeSantis from time to time, I'll do it, and I don't need the lecture. And I don't think you ignore the fact that Donald Trump, I mean, from 2016 to 2022, we've moved from carnival barker to a wannabe authoritarian with serious fascist tendencies and a fascist movement behind him. But no, I hear what you're saying. And his ideas, by the way, the caller's ideas aren't bad. I'm totally for more mutual aid. I would love to see people spending less money at big box stores and Amazon and this and that, and more mutual aid pots. But I also don't think, you know, there's some activists in my experience that they're coming from the right place and they truly care, but they don't get that, you know, I'm only one person. The people you're complaining about are only one person. So a lot of people reach out to me. A lot of people reach out to, you know, bigger channels. You can't answer all of them. You can't have in-depth discussions with all of them. I mean, this caller might not realize that, like, Tina knows this. At any given time, I'm usually working on an investigative story behind the scenes.
Yeah, I don't think people realize how long that takes.
Well, I don't like that. You don't have to justify. I mean, I think you do a good job of explaining away. I mean, what you do as a journalist, your role, you explain it very well.
Right.
So as long as people are open to hearing that, that's your lane, and I think you do. Yeah.
And I'll say to answer him, and to answer anybody else. To me, Tina, we've talked about this. At the end of the day, you could do mutual aid for solar till you're blue in the face. We need a general strike in this country. That's what we need.
We need to get money out of politics. We need to do lots of stuff.
If you're going to save the planet, it's not through mutual aid. It's not through mutual aid for solar. That's not going to give what the United Nations is saying we need, what climate experts have said we need, which is to stop the warming by, I think, what is it? Get us back down to like 1.5 degrees Celsius. It doesn't mean the things you're advocating for, that caller, are not correct. I think the government stop giving money for war start giving people solar panels. Start giving people massive breaks on electric cars to bring them down to what a normal car costs. Start mandating these companies. Your fossil fuel donors, tell them to take a hike. Tell Wall Street, hey, this one you're gonna have to take it on the cheek. Change your portfolio to this, because these are not normal. It's not normal times. It's not a normal situation when London is on fire and 2,000 people are dying in Spain and Portugal, when the ice caps are now melting in Greenland, by the way. So yeah, but thank you, Tony. Tina, you have anything to say before the next?
No, I think Tony has something to say. I think. Tony, are you there? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm still here. I was listening to what you were saying. Sorry. The last thing I was going to say, I think I forgot it, so I will just hand it off to
Oh, no. You're cutting in and out a little bit. I don't know that Jordan could hear you.
He said the last thing he was going to say. He lost his train of thought. So.
Okay. Meh. I hate
All right.
when that happens.
Steven, you're up,
Thanks,
Steven.
Tony.
Hey, all right. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yes. Actually, your connection's a little bit better than Tony's.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Well, I'm nervous. I was contemplating even whether to call in, but Oh, can you hear me? Hello?
Hey.
Yeah. Are you there?
Yeah. Can you hear me? Oh, I'm sorry. There was a long pause, and I'm sorry. I think, what? Let me turn down the volume of my. I should have done that.
Are you getting feedback?
If you're listening to YouTube, you want to mute YouTube.
Oh.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, cool. So I was trying to organize my thoughts. How am I going to get everything out? I tend to talk a lot. I used to. First, I just want to say, Jordan, I'm a big fan. I used to watch even back in your TYT days. And basically, I remember one time I think I wished you a happy birthday, and you respond. And I was like, oh, I feel like a celebrity just respond. You were like, I don't know about that. But honestly, I love the work you do. And I just want to say, I've been off Twitter for a while. I was the account that used to always respond to everything, and I had a big Mr. Met in the picture. But anyway.
Oh, yeah, I know. I remember.
I feel it's kind of one of those. I feel like it sticks out. Anyway, all right. Plus, I'm unique. Anyway, I'm rambling. I apologize.
That's
anyway,
all right.
First thing to the.
Not a joke. Not a joke.
Sorry. Go ahead.
What?
I pressed the sound effect by accident. Go ahead.
Oh, no worries. You know what? It eases attention. Anyway, so to that first guy, I think the biggest problem is that people kind of goes in what you're saying. People want, like, as an individual, it's like, what can we do? Like, what am I going to be able to do just as like a single person? And what that guy is trying to do, I think, is he's offering solutions, which is excellent. I don't think, I was a network. I'm doing a little bit better now, but even with the bills that have I've gotten some huge raises just because I know how to talk the corporate talk and was able to bullshit enough to be able to kind of, plus I've been doing this for 15 years now with AFLIP certified at age 16. Like I've worked my butt off, but at the same time, I don't think it should be all about that. Anyway, in later point, the point to that guy is he's trying to offer like a solution. Like, here's what we could do now. Now, a lot of people cannot afford $1,000, especially on their credit card. When I worked for the public school system in my town, I was making $30,000 a year as a system administrator with a college degree. Okay, and that's in a wealthy town in Connecticut. And if you've ever been to Connecticut, it's wicked expensive here. And I just got really good deals on apartments and stuff like that. Stuff that I was able to. And that's the point. Like that guy saying I'm paying $600. Anybody in America could do that, and it makes me upset. But the only response I can give to that is, I once got on Twitter an argument with an anarchist for 2 days straight. We just went. I just 2 days of just constant. I had to know, but we were respectful. But we each were trying to understand each other, and it was committed. We're talking like every 5 minutes too. Like I feel so bad for my wife. Like I just. 2 days were literal. I even got memes made about me. That's why I took my last name off Twitter, because there was one of them that they took me out of context, and they said, but without the government, who would make the stop signs or something like that? And actually the girl that I was arguing with, to her credit, she's like, no, leave him alone. He's a nice guy. We've been for 2 days straight. Like, leave this guy alone. what I learned from her and what he's saying is like kind of that self-reliance thing. But here's the problem is that what I got with her is I'm like, all right, well, how do you own your land? Who owns your land? She's like, oh, natural human rights. I'm like, okay, but who defends that? And my whole point I was trying to lead to is the only land we can keep is the one that we can defend. So if you're trying to say, oh, there's no laws, like she was extreme, no government at all. But as we're like, oh, work with your community. What was that?
I said that's pretty extreme.
Yeah, she was completely to the most extreme I've ever met of anybody. And there was a whole group. It was a whole group I didn't even know existed that after years of being on Twitter, I had to know more. And I'm always trying to be respectful. I try to dig and so what she ended up saying, I could keep going into how we got to this, but I'll try. I know you have other viewers and other callers, so I'll try to, essentially what she's saying is that the community would work together. Well, we should get to choose how much we put in. All right, well, then we have to, do that. Should somebody have to I start probing, should maybe somebody have to decide, to the point with the land. She's like, what happens if I go to the store and somebody decides it's mine now? She's like, well, it wouldn't be because it's your land. I'm like, how? And she's like, well, natural rights. I'm like, who cares? Like, how? Like, what? I said, what's to stop somebody coming in from a big bulldozer and just plowing through my land and saying this is a highway now? Like, and she kept on like reverting to, no, it won't happen because it's natural human law. And I'm just like, as pure as that may be, like that's not.
I mean, the guy with the other guy that comes in with a bulldozer might say the same thing. It's natural human law. It's my land now. I mean, I see what you're getting at.
Exactly. She believed the street should be owned by public. I'm like, well, what if they decide to charge every street? And she's like, then you pay it. I'm like, so then to get to work, I have to pay all these different people just to get there? And what's money at that point? What's currency? Like, what are we? Then we start talking about the media. Like, how does the truth get out? And she's like, oh, it just will. Like, natural law, free market. I'm like, what if you own all the means?
So it sounds to me, hang on. It sounds to me like this person wasn't necessarily an anarchist, but what I would call, they call themselves anarchists, but I'm saying they're not anarchists. It sounds like this is an anarcho-capitalist, an ANCAP. Did she strike you as like an extreme right-wing libertarian?
Yes, she did. Very much.
Okay.
They had comics with like kind of a thing like, here's currency. And it was all like based in little villages. But the moment I start bringing a bigger force working together, there were no answers.
Right. All right. So interestingly enough, so the ANCAPs, I just want to mention this. So the ANCAPs identify as anarchists, but here's the funny thing. And part of the anarchist philosophy is basically that you're against capitalism. The ANCAPs want to preserve free market systems, right? They want to, a lot of them are into crypto too. They want untethered completely free market capitalism. That's what they want to preserve. So there's definitely a tension there, even though they call themselves anarchists. I'm going to say they're not really anarchists. Anarchists are more on the other side. We're like, no, capitalism is bad because it's exploitative, right? And in fact, there's an HBO series that's on right now on HBO Max called The Anarchists, and they're not anarchists at all. They're ANCAPs. And I wish that HBO had been smarter enough about how they marketed this and named it and done all, and had what about all of this, because it's really misleading. But these are extreme right-wing libertarians. They're batshit. They believe democracy is bad, some of them too. So I'm very fascinated by your story. So carry on.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's funny you say that. See, this is why, too, I always try to find common ground with, I mean, some people, are batshit, but I feel like too many times we walk away from an argument because it's easy to say, this guy's an asshole. I'm concerned about blocking. Ever since Twitter blocking, became, you couldn't see what they changed the rules of it and stuff. It's putting us into tighter groups. It's separating people. There's stories.
Oh, I agree. That's a problem, too, yeah.
I was off Twitter for like a year. I come back. I'm like, I missed all this stuff, like just news, general stuff. I was curious, and it was about to give me a heart attack if I stay on here anymore. I'm like, well, but go ahead.
Let me chime in before we go to the next person. I'll also say that I think there's a problem with this like debate me bro culture on the internet, which is like, let me say something misinformed, wrong, poorly researched, delusional, and hey, it's just this is a valid take. Debate me. No, like
it's not a valid take. And
exactly, it's not a valid take.
I shouldn't have to spend 5 minutes looking at bullshit research to appease you before you'll even accept basic. Like,
so the point is, like, people have said, why don't you have more people on to debate? It's like, first of all, I'm a journalist. I'm not like a debate person. I will debate someone. But secondly, it's like you're just because you have an opinion or you think like some study somewhere proves your point doesn't mean it's warranted to like come on somebody's show or have a journalist or somebody like do your promo or promote whatever you think is a solution. Secondly, I will say to that caller who is still ranting in the chat, who you say you're banned, but you're in the chat, you're not banned. But I'll say, why do more people not go solutions based? Well, there's a few reasons. First of all, hold on.
It might even have to do with the point. I was going to circle back. There was a whole reason I told that whole story, but
so a lot of people are not solutions based because
Jordan, hang on. He's not. He has one more thing to say before you go on.
Go ahead.
Well, now I want to hear. All right. Well, maybe it was to the. All right. So the point I was trying to make is what I ended up getting, and you're absolutely right, anarcho-capitalist, because by the time she was done, it was like, here's a town, here's a community. Do you need a mayor? Somebody before you know it. I'm like, that's a town. Like, she got back to government just before you even knew it. And this is the thing that the final tie here is that guy, like, he's saying, let's spend our own money. Let's do this. The point is that they used to call the United States like the Union. They used to call it the Union. Like, it's supposed to be our elected representatives representing our needs as a small mass to the big business. It's supposed to be our thing. And if you look over the years, especially inflation, I mean, we make like 3 times less than our grandparents after inflation. You look at back then, even a factory worker might have made like 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 a year. The equivalent to that today, I believe, is somewhere around the 50, 60, 70, maybe even as high as the 80s in some cases. And you look at the tax rate back then, and this is where I hate when people say, oh, you cancel all the taxes, it'll all be great. No, it won't.
It won't.
Amount.
Taxes fund libraries, streets, street lights, fire departments. No, it's just silliness. It's silly.
All right, Stephen, God bless you.
They were like 8%. So the point is that we are paying for a system that's supposed to do all this stuff, invest in these things. And it shouldn't be up to us as an individual to band together and fight against the government. It should be up to us to make sure our representatives represent us.
Absolutely.
So
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Stephen. I loved your story, by the way.
Thank you for your time.
We're learning on the go, Tina. We're learning on the go. We'll probably have to have more of like a 3 to 5 minute approach unless someone's really good.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
We have a shit ton of callers here. This isn't
do we?
Oh my God, Jewel, Kengo, Vin, Trevon, Joe, Rashawn.
You got to put me on a time limit because you know me.
I wasn't blaming you. I was telling the callers too. We'll have to, kind of go rapid fire a little bit more. All right, you're up next, Jewel, one of the most underrated folk singers of the 1990s. Wonderful. Remember that?
Yeah.
Remember Jewel?
I do.
Hi, Tina. Hi, Jordan.
Hello.
Hi. I'm Jewel from northeastern Pennsylvania.
Hey there.
Bethlehem.
Okay.
I have.
Deal.
Yeah. Yeah, now it's a casino.
Oh, boy.
I lost my train of thought.
But, sorry.
Just piggyback off of... one thing I wanted to say with Jordan was, like, you seem to be the most hated man on the internet these days.
Really?
I don't know why. Everyone dogs it. I don't know why.
I think I have a few ideas.
I think I have a few ideas too.
YouTubers on the ground, so I'm just, and most of these YouTubers don't even live there.
Well, I'll tell you when the hate started. It seems that if you're mildly critiquing, well, not mildly, but if you're criticizing Glenn Greenwald or Jimmy Dore or I don't know, name your whatever they're calling themselves these days, lefties or the last pure progressive standing. If you ever criticize them, boy, there is a cult.
But they're not even holding up left-wing positions at this point. It kills me. I mean, Glenn Greenwald literally handed a microphone to Alex Jones and told him what a great guy he was. I mean, are you fucking kidding me right now?
Called him devilishly handsome.
It's a fucking joke. I don't know what's wrong with Glenn at this point, but he's completely lost the plot.
So yeah, the hate seems to be that, and I think this is a disturbing trend, not just with Glenn and Jimmy, but in general. It seems that people have blinders on for like the journalists they love or the hosts they love, and make excuses for those hosts that they would not make for the same exact criticism for anybody else.
I agree.
And that goes for me too. If I was, for example, like if I did good reporting, which Glenn, to his credit, has in his career, but then started like, I don't know, let me do fawning interviews with Matt or Alex Jones, I would sure hope people criticize me.
Dude, you and I would part ways instantly.
Yeah. So, and I don't even mind them doing the interviews. The problem is when it's literally slobbering over detestable people. I've made my thoughts on Jimmy pretty clear. So that's to answer your question. Not that there's not like valid criticism of me. People could criticize validly, but I also find it interesting, Jewel, that you could criticize me if you want, but Jesus, is there anybody else doing what we're doing? I really would like to know.
It doesn't ever seem substantial. Like it's like Jordan sucks, and then that's it. I'm always waiting for like the ...
Or Jordan's telling you to vote blue, even though I've never ever said that in my life. But anyway, yes.
Yeah, well, this is the thing too. I wanted to talk with climate change, I guess, is like this tribalism, and I think it's to the benefit of the 1% if we are tribal and we go after each other. I think that's what social media wants us to do.
Oh, I agree.
Absolutely.
And to that never guy, like, I don't, we all try our best and get triggered. I kind of want to, set everything on fire too. But like, it was interesting for him to talk about solar to then go on the internet, which I think is like interesting to me because it's like cultural. Like, I think we should be escaping the consumerism mindset, like more indigenous, like embracing what were they doing that wasn't setting the planet on fire? Because we know the Americas were perfect before Europeans showed up. We just know that. Like Bethlehem Steel, for example, came in, took all of the iron ore, sold it, and then they shoved their company to the ground. Like, and everyone in Bethlehem, all the workers are left dealing with gentrification and college students. Pretty much the only thing this city works for.
Yeah. It's tragic.
Yeah. And I also think that part of the issue, and I think this has become kind of a toxic mentality on the left, and frankly, I think people like Jimmy has manipulated people into thinking this way, is people don't like actually realize you could have two thoughts at once. You could believe
nuance.
You could believe two things at once. There's a thing called
nuance is important. Nuance is disappearing, and it's not good.
So, for example, like
it's really hard to do on the internet.
So, for example, I literally anytime I tweet something negative about the Republicans, there's literally the same people responding. But Democrats, like, are you like dead in the brain? Like, I'm not giving kudos to the Democrats. I know. I care about corruption wherever it comes from. I don't give it to Democrats, Republicans. I actually lost friends during the 2016 campaign because they thought, whatever, Hillary's corrupt, but you shouldn't be covering her. You need to be covering Trump. And I didn't cover Trump 24/7 because I really didn't have anything I thought I could say or add that a gazillion channels weren't doing. I shifted a little bit because contrary to Jimmy Dore, Glenn Greenwald, and all these other fucking idiots, I was actually on the ground covering Trump's two campaigns. I saw up close what was going on. Yeah. It's a lot different when you're at a rally that
100%
you think has tinges of like, I wasn't born, but like what I've read about the 1930s and 40s. So to me, I think people are very tribal, and people, I think that YouTube has kind of become, and YouTube does elevate in their algorithm, food fights, conflict, people fighting, reactionary takes. They prop that up. It's not like because people want that more. That's what YouTube feeds. So if I start doing, takedowns of Jimmy Dore every day or takedowns of Cenk Uygur or this and that, YouTube will recommend that. That's what YouTube will recommend. Yeah.
Because I follow all different kinds of YouTube, from drama channels to fashion to politics. And the politics are always like, politics gets pushed up, but it's only the politics where it's like the sports arena politics. It's never like people are literally
Toxic.
dying of homeless. It's always,
Right.
I hate the Democrats. I hate the Republicans. Ha ha, woke liberalism. Like, that's it. There's never any of, again, the nuance.
Bad. It's very bad.
And Tina,
Yeah.
would you agree with this? You could go out, you could get a clip of a QAnon person saying something crazy. That will do very well on Twitter. That might do well on YouTube. If you go out and show cops evicting homeless people, that's not going to do as well.
No. Anything that's important that information, like trying to impart information to voters, the things that you should be seeing more of are getting buried. And I know, honestly, the video clips where I have the most views, this blows my mind, is when I'm the person getting assaulted by either a cop or a crazy right winger. That should not be the case.
Although I do really like those. No, I'm kidding. Okay.
And then they allow that. And then out in LA, like there's literally right wingers putting up his poster saying, like, go after the liberal journalists.
Yeah.
Oh, talking about Vishal.
Yeah.
Do you live in LA? Yeah. So Vishal's actually a friend of mine, and this is very atrocious. And you know where that's coming from is Andy No. He's the one that started this. Andy No, and what he does is what he does. He's a piece of shit. He put out an edited video of Vishal defending himself against this guy named Mike Anchetta, who is an extremely violent right winger. This would not be the first time that Mike Anchetta has hit somebody that I've seen. So Mike attacked Vishal first, and Vishal defended himself. But what Andy put up was this Vishal defending himself, saying that he was the one doing the attack when he had already been punched. I mean, the guy broke his nose. This guy broke Vishal's nose. It's disgusting. So
and you're able to punch people like a liberal, and then even the liberals like, what the heck? I think it's that guy.
It's very fucking disturbing, pardon my French, but
yeah, I think, Jewel, to me as a consumer, so as a news consumer, to me actions matter a lot more than words, not just the news, but just life. And I just look at people's actions. Okay. So to me, there's a whole lot of channels on the left, on the right, this and that. If you look at what they're delivering you, it is very, very clearly hot air balloon bullshit and hot takes.
Yeah, I like Jimmy, and when I watch Jimmy, I just get angry.
Well, that's the intent.
Like,
that's the purpose.
I just get angry. And
Right.
it's like, I respect Jimmy. He's,
I like Jimmy too, but he does have some now and then some bad takes.
Well,
but I do like Jimmy.
Anymore. No hate.
Well, here's my issue. I have multiple issues with him, but the two main issues with Jimmy that let me say this. First of all, I think Jimmy has essentially normalized a mass cancellation tour. So when we're talking about tribalism, I think a lot of that came from Jimmy Dore. And what I mean by that is basically just having this game of like Survivor, who's the last real progressive standing, and Jimmy has anointed himself the real progressive. I mean, I'm not somebody, people know what I think. I'm not defending the Young Turks. I'm not a fan. But when you basically, 60, 70% of your content for the last year or two is like, getting people to cancel the Young Turks, getting people to want to cancel Kyle Kalinske, getting people to want to cancel Mike from the Humanist Report, getting people to want to cancel David.
He went after Mike, missed that.
Rational National, then Breaking Points. Then when anyone criticizes you, sitting there with your violin, this is in bad faith. These are bad faith critiques.
And I get being anti. Like, I'm anti a lot, but then I usually have to take a step back and be like, but what am I pro? Like,
exactly.
What do I support?
Exactly.
Like, what am I going to work towards? Like, it's hard to do. Like, I'm not good at it.
Right. And also, I won't even get into the COVID stuff because that's a whole nother thing. And I think he's very irresponsible with that.
I just think some of these positions that these folks are now embracing aren't on the left, they're on the right. And it's very puzzling to me.
Right. But the last thing I'll say, at the end of the day, if you have a platform, whatever he has now, over 1 million people, and you're using it more to, pass off your quote unquote research on COVID and vaccines, that is very shittily researched. From what I've heard from people that used to work with him, he doesn't do any research. And I know that from TYT and how he was there. And you're not. I mean, I just covered a strike of Starbucks workers yesterday. 200 people watched live Sunday morning. You think Jimmy Dore, if he was focusing on the union drives, the worker strikes, tenants unions, I mean, he could be exploding that stuff. But you just said you watch him and you get angry. That's his purpose. That's what he's trying to do. And
but that's also why his audience is much larger. I think that's part of the problem, right?
Yes.
YouTube's a publisher. You're not like I like to look at the internet. This is a media company. You're publishing. What you're saying matters. Language is important. You can't just say. You have to say what you mean.
Yeah.
Orwell, politics, and language.
Or have it a commitment. Just have a basic commitment to veracity. To what, at least try to have a commitment to veracity.
Well, I think the problem is, and this isn't just with Jimmy, but this is a lot of people. When you are personally affected by something and you let that basically make you go onto a jihad against something. So, for example, Jimmy, says that the COVID vaccine injured him. I'm not saying he's lying. I'm sure he had symptoms. So for him, because he had a bad experience with the COVID vaccine,
It's anecdotal.
Right. He then
It could also be misunderstood. I mean, side effects are side effects.
Right. So then he just has gone on a, 2-year jihad, where if you watch his channel, he started doing 20 videos a week on vaccine skepticism, which is a lighter version of anti-vax. And I don't care. You can be anti-vax even if you've got the vaccine. That actually has the effect, because contrary to what people think, people that listen to Joe Rogan and listen to Jimmy actually make decisions based on what they're hearing. So you do have a responsibility. I am not an expert on COVID, monkeypox, or any of those things. So you want to know what? I actually don't tell you what to do. I have people on that I think are reputable, not people on that will tell me what I already think, which is what he's been doing. So
the thing I'll say, just in case anyone takes a soundbite, it's like, I don't want YouTube to tell me what's good for me either. I don't think that's necessarily a good idea either. It's just some kind of responsibility.
Right. I said, listen, I'm pro-vaccine. I believe it is more than vaccines. I think only the vaccine focus of the Biden administration has been wrong. But
that turned me off as someone that was like, get the vaccine. Now, I'm like, okay.
Right.
Like I was someone that was full, just in case anyone wants to know, I was full do it. And even I'm skeptical, but I'm not going to be I'm not a doctor.
Right.
Who cares what I think? And
that's the point. Jimmy's not a doctor. Joe Rogan shit sure isn't. And I'll say this before we go on to the next person.
No,
I see there seems to be an inconsistency between people like Jimmy and others who claim to be champions of universal health care and getting people health care, but then just dismissing a deadly virus that's killing a lot of people still. And we haven't even gotten into long COVID. So when people like Jimmy laugh, oh, it's just a cold and it's nothing more than a cold at this point and this and that. Well, go call Johns Hopkins University like I did for a friend. Go call Johns Hopkins University. Try to get into the long COVID unit. You know how long it's going to take you, Jewel? A year. That's the wait, because they have so many.
I know a lot of people had strokes, anecdotally.
Exactly.
It could be for other things, but.
So when you're saying we need Medicare for all, but then for your own purposes, whatever it is, I do think there's a link between his subscribers going back up and him getting 20,000 live viewers when he's doing this vax stuff. I do think there's a link. And people are having literally long-term disabling effects from COVID.
Yeah, and how can you work? And
Exactly.
that's just doing a disservice to poor people.
Yep.
I agree.
I left the service industry because I was like, you want me to work for $4 an hour and get sick and you don't give me health care? How the hell am I going to work when I'm blind or no one wants to look at me because I have sores in my face from this monkeypox now, which people are
scary
against that too. So I feel like COVID opened up the door for that.
Absolutely. All right, Jewel.
For your time.
Thanks so much, Jewel.
Thanks, Jewel. Nice talking with you.
Thank you.
All right, Tina, how many more we got? Let's go with two. Well, we got a lot more, but we'll see how many more we can get to. All right. Kengo. Oh, I love that. You're up, Kengo.
Hello?
Hey there.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Well, this is so cool. Anyway.
I know, this is pretty cool, actually.
Thanks for your, all the, I really appreciate the, on the ground reporting that you do.
Sorry. Hold on. I gotta tell the audience this breaking news. Rachel
What
Maddow.
happened?
Rachel Maddow's head is going to explode. FBI executes a search warrant at Trump's Mar-a-Lago. The FBI has executed a search warrant on Trump's
I knew that
Mar-a-Lago.
was coming.
Trump says his home has been raided by the FBI. Oh, boy. Should we not cover that?
No, we should definitely cover that. I was just waiting for this to happen. I knew it was going to happen eventually.
Colin, if you find an article or something like that, send it to me. But Trump's Mar-a-Lago home has been raided by the FBI. Go on. Sorry, Ken, go. I had to share that.
So yeah, first I just wanted to share my appreciation for your on the ground reporting and stuff. It's, when you read stuff on the news, it's sometimes like you don't really get understand like what the people are going through until you like actually see it reporting. So I really appreciate it. And one thing I just wanted to mention that there's something that caught my eye is that there is a guy named John Statovich. He's running as an independent for the presidency for 2024, and I just wanted to sort of let you know, maybe you can reach out to him and sort of give him some platform. I saw him be interviewed by Sabrina Salvati on Sabi Sabs, who's part of the Revolutionary Blackout Network. And I feel like I found him pretty interesting. I think he's a bit more to the left of Bernie even. So
what's his last name?
Just throwing it out there. John Stasevich. It's Stasevich.
Can you do me a favor and email me the info at info@statuscoup.com?
Yeah, I have not seen him. Okay, interesting.
And Tina, I got to do it. Hold on, Ken, go.
Oh, here we go.
Bing, 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 bing. Losers. They're just losers. They're losers. They're just losers.
I'm waiting for more information, but apparently the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago today. So, and you want to know something? It would not shock me if Trump announces his run for the presidency, like
and
tomorrow.
plays victim. Yeah.
And it's probably going to skyrocket him to the Republican nomination because what better way to run? Sorry, I can't go. I just wanted to get back into that. Anything else you wanted to add in?
I guess I don't really have a problem with super chats in general. I think, we live in a capitalist system and we kind of have to survive. We're forced to participate in the system. So
that's right.
I think it's completely fine.
Here's my issue with.
You don't need to start.
Here's my issue with that caller, because I don't mind like someone who's abrasive, and by the way, if you're like don't start with the whole like meet me in person kind of shit. If you start making threats, we're gonna get rid of you off the channel because that's a little too far to the caller, but the first caller, but. What to me is interesting, like my mama once told me, if one or two people don't like you, that's one thing. If 15, 20 people think the same thing, maybe you should look in the mirror. So if you're continually getting banned from channels,
might be your behavior.
Or banned from whatever, you might have like a great point or a great idea. But if you're coming off the wrong way or you like are demanding someone listen to you right away.
I'm gonna have to go now. So okay. I really appreciate talking to you, and thank you for your reporting and stuff. Thanks.
Absolutely. Colin, if you could put up the what I just sent you. This is like I don't know if this is, I feel like I'm watching The Onion, but this is really happening. Trump just tweeted, or he didn't tweet, excuse me. Trump said, my beautiful home, Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida, is currently under siege, raided and occupied by a large group of FBI agents. They even broke into my safe. Oh boy.
Of course they broke into your safe. They're going to take what's in there to.
So Tina, I don't know. I guess we'll find out, but I guess this has to do with,
January 6th.
Also, he took stuff from the White House. Remember that?
Yeah, that's right. He absolutely.
He had taken boxes of documents or classified material. So
That's
it could
right.
be that, could be January 6th related, but I got news for you. I mean, people wanted action from Merrick Garland. I mean, you would have to think this is connected to the January 6th investigation. And the FBI, the FBI does not raid your home unless they have something.
That is correct.
You've covered a lot of the raids on Proud Boys, Oath Keepers. So could you talk a little bit more about what you think this FBI raid?
I think it's related to January 6th. I think it is. I think there's substantial background information there that, again, we still haven't seen all this information that connects all of these dots with a pre-planned thing that happened that day. I don't think this was just an organic thing that happened. And I think that's what this is related to.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Sorry, we paid a lot for these sound effects. Damn it, and I'm going to use it.
They're kind of hilarious. They're kind of hilarious. I mean, listen, my thing with this, I know that some people think like, well, why are we paying so much attention to January 6th if it's yada yada yada? I've heard all these arguments. The thing is it is a big deal, folks. This is a big deal. The fact that somebody would want to overturn what's left of our democracy and remain in power, especially somebody that already has shown you that he has authoritarian leanings. And even though he's saying he's fighting for working class individuals, he's not. He's, handing more, handouts to his wealthy elite friends and corporations. It's a very dangerous thing. And we should all be concerned about it.
And that's another problem I have with people like Glenn Greenwald, Jimmy, and the others, because apparently
they're trying to minimize something that should not be minimalized. I mean,
listen,
come on now.
John Farina, who is freelancing for us down there, I don't think he'd mind me saying. I mean, he's still got PTSD from covering that on the ground, and he nearly
bruises all over. Yeah, it was terrible.
Ribs. He got that amazing historic footage of the corridor with the cop's head rammed into the door. People died, and it's not only that. It's significant not only because of what happened on that day. I mean, I don't, think it was Pearl Harbor like some of these lunatic, leftists think, or leftists, excuse me, wine moms and resistance ghouls think. But what I do think, it's not just significant for what it was on January 6th. It's significant for what they're trying to make it. This hasn't gotten attention. There are Trump loyalists all around the country that are trying to remove election officials state to state.
What happened in Arizona recently? You now have a QAnon person in charge of as Secretary of State. Are you kidding me? Like this is dangerous in and of itself. I don't understand why people don't see that. You really want people in positions of power that are going to bow to authoritarian fascism and not really give a shit about the will of the people. That concerns us all.
Tina, that matters. We don't have a democracy, but I agree with you. What's left of our democracy, they're trying to steal. But also, imagine in just a crazy fantasy world, okay? Yes. Name your pick. Fucking, I don't know. Nita Turner, Marianne Williamson, whomever. Primaries Biden and wins. Let's just imagine that. Then you have a real progressive running against Trump or DeSantis. And a real progressive wins. The Democratic Party would probably help the Republicans to steal the election in that case. So it matters whether it's crazy Republicans trying to steal it from a corporatist, whether you like Biden or not. He did win. I mean, it wasn't. There's no valid reporting or information that there never was. But if you don't have if basically elections just become the latest culture war and elections become the latest, like, fact doesn't matter, the sky is green.
That's where we are already, though. That's what's happening, Jordan. That's my point. I wish more people need to really see where we're at right now. It's very bad.
But I got news for you.
I want to increase our democracy. I want our democracy to be taken to another level. Like, I want to see, the elimination of electoral college. I want to see the filibuster gone. I want everybody to have a direct say in what happens in this country. One vote, one choice, you name it. I want to see those things happen because I think preserving real democracy is how we fix the problems that we're really facing.
Right.
The reason that we don't have the say in Congress, like the reason our Congress is not beholden to its constituents, but also the donor class, is because of the way the country's set up right now. And that has to change. And we've seen a slow erosion from that since the 1970s, Powell memo forward. to now. So this is very bad. So we should all be angry about what happened on January 6th. We should not be giving it a pass or pretending it's less than what it is. Right. And I also think it's very telling that more energy was given to the Watergate scandal, which was far less egregious than this.
Right. And I'll also say, Tina, before we take the next caller, this matters also because it's not good for progressives when corporate Democrats are able to point to, hey, don't worry about that. The fact that we're screwing you. Don't worry the fact that we didn't give you health care during an unprecedented global pandemic that's killed over 1 million people here. Don't worry about the fact that we ran on a public option. They're not going to give you that either. Don't worry about the fact that we haven't raised the minimum wage in over a decade and that we're not doing anything for you and we're corrupt. Vote for us because, hey, look, these are the fascists trying to overturn democracy. So it gives them an out when these things continue to happen and it takes the attention off. Both parties are corrupt. But at the very least, Democrats aren't, I mean, Al Gore actually had the election stolen from him and folded.
Yeah, 100% he did.
Right. All right. Let's do a couple lightning rounds because I don't want to keep everybody too long. But since it's our first time doing this, I'll try to get everyone in. Vin, you're up.
Hey, guys. I just wanted to touch on a comment that this might be, I'm sure you guys are going to disagree with this take, but regarding Ron DeSantis, I think Ron DeSantis, I can't see him beating Trump in a primary, although this breaking news may affect that in some ways. But I think Ron DeSantis would easily smoke a general election. I think he'd win by far. And I think the number one reason he'd win is due to the fact that, and it's something that a lot of leftists have not coped with, is COVID policies. I think he was by far the best governor when it came to COVID, and I don't think it's very close. He was. Yeah, we're not going to agree.
Yeah, I'm definitely not going to agree with you on that. But
go ahead.
Well,
keep going.
You guys talk about Sweden all the time, and he just did the Sweden the pre-pandemic model. So
I think Sweden handled the COVID policy very badly too.
Go ahead.
I just want to. Well, okay. Well, can you explain to me? Do you think California handled it better than Florida? That's my question.
Yeah, 100% yes. Not good enough.
Well, first of all,
wow.
wait. Hold on.
This is exactly my problem with.
But wait. There has to be also context here. California is the most populated state in America. I think its economy, Tina, is like the 5th biggest in the world. So it's not when you're talking about the results in California versus Florida, you have to take into account the population size. Number two, one second. Okay. Number two, there is no debate. Ron DeSantis and his health department have covered up like New York did.
Yeah, that's a bunch of cope. That's a bunch of nonsense.
No,
there's no
not.
evidence of that.
No.
Here's my thing.
Okay.
You mentioned Johns Hopkins University,
yeah,
which had a study, and multiple other studies have already showed this, that lockdowns were completely useless. Now, maybe boutique leftists like you guys who are cool at home and ordering your Uber Eats. No, listen, ordering your Uber Eats.
I don't order from Uber Eats, so I don't know why you're even saying
that.
I
don't go out and actually do things, or small businesses who, decimated, and corporations who absolutely had a great time during the pandemic. You guys support lockdowns and.
I do support lockdowns. I also support a UBI.
But wait.
Yeah.
No, I really
you don't understand. Yeah.
No, I don't want to fight with you. I'm just curious about this because I hear this term a lot, and I'd really like to know what people are talking about. I'm not being condescending. I was in New York City during the pandemic. There was no lockdown in New York City.
Yeah.
If you want to actually wait a minute.
So
if you want to know about lockdowns, go to Italy.
You don't care about 40% of black people who couldn't go to a restaurant because they didn't have a vaccine card. You don't care about that?
But you're talking about lockdowns. You just changed the subject.
I'm talking about total COVID policies. I want to talk about lockdowns as well.
But we didn't have lockdowns in this country, so you're starting from a false premise. There were no lockdowns in this country. There was literally people out in Central Park. The subways were moving. What?
Small businesses. Were they forced to be shut down or no?
No. They had to abide by a certain set of policies. We had a very short period of time where things were closed, and it wasn't everything.
Also, this is why nobody takes leftists seriously. And I'm not a right winger at all.
But I don't get your point. I'm not advocating to shut down small businesses, so I don't really get your point.
But the idea of we didn't even do lockdowns here.
We didn't.
It's like you only do China lockdowns or there's no lockdowns. that just shows you how out of touch you are with all the people whose lives got destroyed because their kids who.
I mean, Jordan just spent the last 2 weeks talking to people that are very much affected by income inequality. I would not call them out of touch.
But
I'll go back to you guys. I just want to make a quick point.
But I'm trying to understand your point because I didn't advocate for
let me make
lockdowns.
my point because I haven't made that point. So your host just said she supported lockdowns. Now here's my point. I just want to make this point. So you said you're cool with a single parent who has to work a job that's outside and her kid can't go to school. Maybe that's her kid's maybe only meal of the day they're gonna get. You don't care about those people. You want them to live through remote learning through the education.
No, that's bullshit.
And they'll never go to school again.
That's
You
bullshit.
don't make any comments on places like Illinois who are now shutting down schools.
But you're putting
and sending kids home because they're not vaccinated.
you're asserting
You don't care
positions
about that.
you're asserting positions that I've never advocated for.
No, because
Not only that, you're sitting in a position that you're saying these two things are the only answers. There's this answer and there's this answer, and there's not a range of things that are possible here when there is a range. Okay, number one.
First of all, you're
don't going to school and spreading viruses around.
okay. First of all, you're asserting positions that I've never advocated for. So I don't know what do you think I've advocated for? I've said all along.
In Florida,
Ron DeSantis had terrible COVID policy.
There's no hard lockdowns. There's no hard lockdowns.
So number one, when you're in a public health emergency, what should be done? Forget Ron DeSantis for a second. What should be done, which I advocated from day one, which if you're an actual leftist, this is what we all should have been fighting for, is the government should have backstopped the payrolls like they did in Europe. That is what I advocated for. I did not advocate for mandate people stay home with nothing for them. I advocated for we should be paying everyone.
I know that. I know you guys.
So what are you talking about? I advocate lockouts.
I'm not saying that.
And secondly, Ron DeSantis literally has advocated for things that have killed countless people that did not have to die. And that's not bullshit. That's not bullshit. So
that is not bullshit.
you can have two thoughts at once. You could say that the federal government did not do enough for small businesses, for families, for children, and I 100% agree with that. But to then say, "Oh, he did the best job because he didn't shut down businesses," well, look at how many fucking people died in Florida.
Listen. Yeah, and Florida is the oldest state in the nation.
It wasn't just old people, dude.
Their age, it is. They have the most.
But that is like eugenics. Old people should not be protected from a virus. They should just be able to die. That is very selfish.
Listen. Didn't say that. Age-adjusted death rate is what I'm talking about. Per 100,000 is less than California, and California had to go through quote-unquote lockdowns while Florida was completely free. For
California didn't do a lockdown either.
They didn't do a total lockdown.
The term matters. The term actually matters. There were actual countries that locked down people. You could not leave your home. You could not leave your apartment. So California didn't lock anyone down. People like Jimmy and Max Blumenthal and all these people, there was no lockdown in America.
And I don't care about Jimmy Dore. I'm not a Jimmy Dore.
Okay, but there was no lockdown in America, so you need to stop using that term. Nobody was locked down in their homes. Okay.
With government non-medical intervention policies, that's what they called it. Not a lockdown, but we're going to slow economic activity down. We're going to shut down businesses. We're going to shut down schools.
They didn't shut down businesses. They didn't shut down schools. They mitigated the schools to online, which is the right thing to do. You think all these kids could get sick and die? I mean, what you're advocating for is virus spreading.
But what I'm trying to understand, when schools were closed down, there wasn't a whole lot known about this virus. We didn't have a vaccine. So you're just advocating keep the kids.
Closures in 2021 when we had more than enough information about the vaccine. What are you talking about?
I've said on this show, I said on this show that I think schools were closed too long. So I'm not you seem to be like asserting I had positions that I never had. Just because I'm not like a dead ender who's like.
What do you think about the John Hopkins paper on lockdowns and how it was all did?
I don't think there was lockdown, so I disagree with that term.
Okay, on the policy that was made, because you guys, it seems you guys, because here's the thing, I'm not saying Ron DeSantis is good. I'm saying I'd rather have no policy from the government than what the hell happened in Florida, Washington, California, Washington, all these states. I'd rather have government stay out of my business.
But that was the problem, dude. That's where we depart. If that's the Tina, you're muted. Your mic is muted, Tina.
I'd rather have that. Because
your mic is muted.
If my business is not going to go shut down, if my kid's going to be able to go to school, I'd rather have that than whatever garbage California and Washington and all these states did. Okay. And vaccine mandates and mask mandates. Like, you guys, what? Do you guys think masks work?
Yes.
There's no science behind that. Okay. Then
all right. Well, then honestly, if that's where you're at, that's where you're at. Because you're literally, there's literally study after study after study after study that masks work.
Have you heard of the Bangladesh study, which is the world's largest study on masks? You've never covered this on your show, where they showed there's no evidence.
All right. Tina, your mic's not working. Huh? Something happened with your mic, Tina. All right. Yeah, so like we're going to do call-ins. We're going to try to do call-ins every day. Probably not this long. But if people are going off and off and off on tangents, I don't care if they disagree with me, but if people are just kind of going off a little, like this guy was like pushing things that I've never advocated for. And I can't take people seriously that keep using the term lockdown because we never had lockdowns. And that's why I hear you now, Tina. That's why
it's not muted. Did Colin mute it? I'm not muted here anywhere.
You were muted. Now you're not muted. Colin didn't.
I think Colin did it because I didn't change anything. Wow, that was some anti-science nonsense.
So
masks absolutely do work.
Tina, I was saying I don't mind people that disagree or debating, but if people are going off on tangents and putting words in our mouth, I never called for a lockdown, and we never had a lockdown. So
I agree with what we did here in California because it did mitigate the spread of a virus. And anybody that wants to tell me that we shouldn't be concerned about older people or they're going to older, they might get sick and die. I have a problem with that. That is a very self-absorbed viewpoint. If you cannot make a few choices for the better good, for the public good, then you're a very self-absorbed person as far as I'm concerned. I don't have time for.
I also have a problem with this. So because the federal government failed starting under Trump, right? There should have been UBI and the government just covers people to stay home, period. Yeah. So this guy's point would have been obsolete because people would have been paid to stay home. That's what should have happened. That's what should have happened under Trump. In the beginning, when we actually could have made a real dent in this and stop the spread, period. What we should have done is kept people home, pay them. It's a public health emergency. Everyone.
I agree.
Other than doctors, nurses, like essential services. Amazon workers, home. Walmart workers, home. All the essential workers, unless you are a life or death worker or food or this and that. So, and if people get a little bored or restless, too bad. That would have helped stop the spread.
Yeah.
We had patchwork policy.
We had patchwork things. We had things we didn't have to pay rent. We had unemployment with an extra $600 for what? Like,
no, but I'm talking about patchwork state to state. We had patchwork state to state policies. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, I can't really take people seriously about the lock. There was no fucking lockdown. Stop saying that. Okay, I lived in New York City. People were out. People were in
I live in California. I don't think this guy lives in California.
Right. People were taking walks. Subways were still open. There was stay-at-home orders that were fairly loose, to be honest. Third.
We didn't even have those. We didn't. I mean, we did for like 2 weeks, I think, and that was it.
Right. Third, I do think the schools stayed closed too long. But if you're a parent, I'm not a parent, but if you're a parent, like, do you want your kid to get the flu 3 times?
I want my kid to class over Zoom and not get sick. Yeah, yeah.
So, and number four, this idea that because DeSantis, I guess, said laissez-faire, let it rip.
Let it rip.
Responsible.
And so did Sweden, and I disagree with what Sweden did, and as do many Swedes, by the way.
And by the way, independent agencies came out saying they covered up the true death count in Florida.
Oh, they 100% did.
It's not me saying that. That was whistleblowers and an independent health official that came out and said, yes, they fudged the numbers on the true death count in Florida. So what you're comparing California and Florida and saying, oh, he did good per whatever, capita, the true numbers are not out there in Florida. And by the way, it's not just old people that died in Florida. Yes, older people died in bulk, but that's not like, oh, well, they were going to die anyway. That is eugenics. So you're misstating that we did not have a lockdown. Secondly, I said from the beginning, people should have been paid to stay home. So I was not advocating for just keep everybody home, and if they lose their jobs or go in debt, screw them. That was never a position I took. So I have an issue with people like calling in all pissed off when, and by the way, the shit I've been going after Ron DeSantis for. So because you like his COVID policy, you just want to disregard that he put a gag order on gay people? You want to disregard that he's banning protests in neighborhoods?
That he's banning 54 math books because of they have race data in them. I mean,
right?
It's fucking
you want to ban that he's now, you want to ignore that he's now trying to ban or prop up conversion therapy.
Yeah.
So you might think he had a good COVID policy. I don't, but you don't just disregard a fucking authoritarian who's
DeSantis is a monster as far as I'm
if you actually care about free speech, this man has been attacking free speech. And I went down to Florida, and it was not the sexy topic. We didn't have a ton of viewers, but it was the right thing to do. I actually read the Don't Say Gay bill, and guess what? It is a gag order on gay people. And guess what? What people warned is already happening, because they're going outside of simply like, you can't talk about, you're not teaching sexual identity or whatever, to now a teacher can't put up a picture of him and his husband if it's the same sex, or wife if it's same sex, and you can't even put up pictures in some schools. So don't spare me that Ron DeSantis is this wonderful steward. For God's sakes, his health director is an anti-masker. And when you say there's no evidence,
so was this guy. I mean,
when there's no evidence that masks work, there's study after study after study that masks have worked. So anyway,
for decades we have studied that masks work. They absolutely work. That is.
Tina, I'm going to take one more caller.
Okay.
I'm all riled up. I'm going to take one more caller. Joe. Oh yeah, Joe, you're up. You got to unmute yourself, Joe. Going once. Going twice. All right, Joe, you missed it. Sean, last caller.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Did we scare everybody off with that last one?
Okay, hold on. Okay, can you hear me better now?
I can.
hear you. Yeah, perfectly.
Oh, shoot. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Cool. So this a lot of these calls have been very contentious so far.
I did not expect that, to be honest.
Oh well, mine's gonna be on the very much the opposite end. It's gonna be on some real kumbaya type shit.
Oh, good.
To be clear, I don't mind contentious. My problem is when you're asserting things that I've never advocated for, and when go ahead.
Can I give you two keywords?
Mm-hmm.
Constructive criticism, not going wacky and crazy and aggressive and unreasonably.
Yeah.
But so to start off, I would say you are one of people on the left. You are one of two kind of commentators or reporters who I think are doing some of the most important work possible right now.
Why? Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem. You're one of two, and the other one I would say is Richard Wolff.
That's funny because I'm having him on tomorrow.
Dude, having you two, that's amazing. Having you two on together is amazing because you're covering the ground. He's covering kind of the philosophy and what feels like the only hope we have, To give an example, he was talking about how, I don't know if you saw his talking about how the French left kind of coalesced, came together, and nearly got half the damn vote. In their last election, right?
Right. It was dangerous because of Le Pen. Yeah.
Yes, I saw that, and the first thing I thought was okay, awesome. The leftover in America has to get that type of coalescing and strength, and then I realized, oh shit, we can't do that. We have how many people in the House, and we have Bernie alone. So I was thinking there has to be some type of simulation that we can do, maybe on the reportive commentative left. And I've seen that a little bit with like Breaking Points featuring you. Kyle Kalinske today even just played a clip from David Dole. I see a little bit of it, but I think what sticks into my mind is a huge challenge, and I want to see if you think it's possible. Do you think it's possible that in trying to coalesce kind of the reportive, commentative left, if we could make Jimmy Dore and TYT kind of sing Kumbaya together again? Do you think it's possible to combine their forces? You know, because
it'd be helpful.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's so much toxic stuff out there now. I think it's a problem.
Yes. I got to be honest with you, and I'm not saying this to, go viral or anything like that, but
I'm all ears.
I don't really know how much of Jimmy Dore's audience is really left anymore. I mean, if you look at Jimmy Dore's chat, it literally looks like a MAGA cesspool. So that doesn't mean that there's not leftists who still watch Jimmy Dore, but I think Jimmy's demographics are a lot different than they might have been 2 years ago. As far as
I see,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. No, please. You got it, please.
As far as TYT, I mean, my thoughts, people know what I think about TYT. I've been advocating for a long time for a network.
Yes.
Because, I think there's egos involved. And at the end of the day, YouTube is not a platform that is ever going to elevate independent journalism. And I've had to reporting. I've had to come to terms with that. I mean, I could be interviewing Jesus on the ground, and it probably would get 200 live viewers.
Who's a real leftist, by the way.
Right.
Yeah. 100%.
So YouTube is not going to elevate reporting. YouTube is going to elevate, hot takery. And even breaking points. I mean, Crystal has been open. I think Sagar too, that if they had just started on their own, they would have never taken off the way they did. They benefited because they were at the Hill, which is propped up because it's a corporate outlet. So I've advocated for one network.
It's a strong idea.
Commentators, reporters. You could have comics. You could have whatever. There's some people that I personally don't want to be associated with, not because I don't like them, but because I don't respect them and I think they're toxic. But there's other people that might not be my cup of tea, but I would still be under the same umbrella. Because I don't think, they're not my favorite, but I don't find them deplorable people.
And you're stronger. I feel like you could be a stronger force together, like that left in France.
And that's why, to me,
I agree.
Besides what went down with me in TYT years ago, to me, that was the biggest disappointment in TYT, because they had the resources compared to, at the time, anybody else. And they really could have, even if they wanted to get rid of me, continued the on-the-ground reporting and then use their main show, which at the time still had a good audience, to elevate. They have reporters in Flint, or they have reporters covering local campaigns, or they have reporters covering imagine if they were on the ground covering the union strikes, the union drives, but they're not.
Well, I do have to, as much as I'm saying I want to call Kumbaya, I do have to call out Jenkins. I heard some stuff like he was against TYT members having a union.
Oh yeah.
What the hell?
That's bad. Yeah, he was against unionization, which is terrible. It's very hypocritical.
That's insane.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, he says he's a capitalist, so there you go. But yeah, I think, listen, Tina knows this. I know this. The corporate media is a well-oiled machine. The Democratic Party is a well-oiled machine. The Republican Party is a well-oiled machine, and the independent media is a fucking shit show. So
exactly, I think barely behind the scenes, they're a well-oiled machine together.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Which I mean, even if I just put it this way: what if you had AOC on every single one of the left-wing shows? What if you had the whole squad on every single one of the left-wing shows, and they could come in and take some constructive criticism, critique, and then they take that back to the house,
right?
And they say, you know what? Hey, we do have the bully pulpit. I just talked to these guys. Listen, this segment we have right now, where you can just talk to the people. You have AOC just talking to people, town hall, impromptu town hall, and then she goes back. Like, God, all these people have my back.
Right.
They have critiques of me, but they have my back.
Right.
How would she be voted?
Well, that's the problem when a huge host on the left, I'm not saying, kiss their ass, But you could criticize politicians, you can criticize the left, but when you're starting like Fraud Squad and Bernie's the coward and a Lucifer,
it's not helping.
You think they're going to want to come on your right? So I've never jumped into that because I'll criticize them, but like I'm not gonna go on a jihad because
constructive criticism.
Exactly. Right. And to me, I kind of like to me, I'd like a network, but I kind of like what Breaking Points is doing. I Saga and me don't agree on much. But I like that they're trying, at least with their platform, to feature, they have Max from The Real News on there. They're featuring some of my content at Status Coup. They're featuring The Intercept, some others. So, they're putting their money where their mouth is to actually feature others that do not have the audience they do, because it works. I mean, when I get on Breaking Points or my content gets on there, there's a downstream effect of people that would have never seen Status Coup because it doesn't show up in their feed coming to Status Coup or coming to their other partners. So I would love to see it. But the problem is on the left, whatever you consider the left now, there's basically been this, last 2 years of people shifting to different directions and a more right direction.
And check this out. I can't remember who put out the video. I don't know if it's David Dole, Human Support, whatever. But there is a video of Sean Hannity. He had this whole board, and it was all a bunch of the left-wing policies. And he was just like, "Oh, isn't this horrible? They want to give you free medical care. They want you to have free food." It was something like that, where he's just the whole left platform, and I'm like, and he's trying to make it sound bad, like, you fucking idiot.
I know, right? You're like, that sounds great.
Yes. I think what the left is the people who stand for those things, and I think if we can cut through all the bullshit, all the, like you're saying, the ego and stuff like that, we can just have a platform. Like dude earlier was talking about Sabby Sab show. He recently did a thing of 11 demands. And I think it's just we really it has to go back to the policies, man. And cut all the ego shit, cut all this. Let's use that video from Hannity. Every time we kind of get away from the script, we go back to that video of Hannity. We make fun of him, but we say, these are all the things we stand for. Let's get to these,
Yeah. No, exactly.
I mean, I've said it for a while, Tina. I don't know what you think, but at the end of the day, I mean, if we want to just have, like, for the next 5-10 years, like, cliquey little food fights on the left.
I don't. I think it's very toxic, and there's no point.
While the world is burning on fire and there's fascists poaching on you. Great idea.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm kind of over, like, I don't understand why there's YouTube shows devoted to criticizing other YouTube shows. Like, this just to me seems like a waste of time.
Yeah, I mean, literally, it would be a lot clickier for me if I literally headlined like videos and live streams, Jimmy or whatever. That would be a lot better for me. I won't shy away from criticizing them, but I don't like steer my coverage for that. So
you have integrity,
right? So, and like I do on the ground reporting, which is very expensive. It's very, very time consuming. It's not just those trips. It takes a while to plan it, to book the guests, to find the stories. It costs a lot of money. We drove 1,500 miles in 7 days because I think it matters. And I know going into it, this is not going to get as many views as doing a live stream shitting on Jimmy Dore. But to me, like, I do this for a reason. And if I wanted to I know how to get clicks. If I wanted just to get clicks, that's what I would do. But I think it's important to show these kind of stories. So that's what we'll continue doing.
And let me not take up much of your time, man. You're doing the work, man. You're gonna have Richard Wolf on tomorrow.
Yeah, which is great.
All right, thanks, Tina. I'm sorry I kept you way longer than I usually.
No, that's all right. That's all right. That was interesting.
Absolutely. Technically, like, I guess we can't really like a radio show. You can't really like call screen because it's through the app. So like, can't really speak with them before they come on live. And I don't really want to call screen. I mean. If some people go off the rails, like, I'll give them a little leash. But to me, I don't mind if like you don't like one of my takes or your take, Tina, or you have a different view. But when you're like shouting and, oh my God, you banned me, and like, oh, you didn't listen to me for a year. Like, dude, I don't know who the fuck you are. I know you think you're important, and you think that people know who you are. I've blocked quite a lot of people. Mostly when they're saying anti-Semitic things or threatening me or whatever. So you're not the first person I blocked to the first caller, so I might not remember you.
I don't understand why he just didn't introduce himself from jump, because I still don't know who this guy is. He's like, you know who I am? I'm like, I actually don't. Can you please tell me who you are?
But it's also like if you feel like you haven't been listened to by me and other people, well, you're calling in. So why don't you just make your point instead of like ranting that you've been blocked and you've been banned and people don't listen to you, and it's just weird. But to the other people, like, yeah, I mean, if you're floating bullshit like lockdown, like there is no lockdown, and I'm going to call you out on that. When you're saying like, you know, DeSantis, it was amazing, and then saying, no, there's no evidence he covered up the death counts. I mean, Google it, man. There's whistleblowers. There's independent agencies that have come out saying, yeah, they didn't put out the real death number.
No, and it would have been, listen, and if we didn't have the mitigating things that we had done, if we hadn't taken those steps, the death toll would be hell of a lot higher than it is. And it's already exceedingly high. So this idea that COVID was no big deal is absolutely ridiculous.
Right. But he's
I personally know 3 people that have died from COVID.
Right.
And I know other people could share similar stories. So this idea that it's like no big deal is absolutely a big deal.
But also compared to Florida, I mean, internationally, a lot of people come internationally to California. So there's also the fact that like a lot of people come.
Yeah, we never locked down air flights, so yeah, 100% that matters. We took mitigating factors. When he says lockdown, I'm thinking he's meaning like the partial things that we did here. Apparently not. No, we never had any instances where you had to stay home and you could not leave your house. Maybe for like a few days. I remember right at the start, we got a text message about that. But generally, no. I mean, and also, what the fuck is boutique left? What does that even mean?
It's a bullshit. Like I think
that's a ridiculous term. I don't know what that.
And we'll end with Never Falls. Get fucked, Jordan. No wonder. no wonder you're getting banned and nobody wants to talk to you. All right, Tina, I'm excited about your show. We're probably going to try to shoot for Thursday. The loose title. Why does it sound like a lawnmower? Is that you?
Is that me? Oh, you know, my neighbor has his.
Okay.
Oh, that is. Sorry.
The loose title is.
That's a blower.
This Week in Right Wing Insanity, which is going to be awesome. We'll be back at it tomorrow. Kim Brown, who guest hosted last week, is going to be hosting again on Wednesday, so that's exciting. So yeah, we're trying to get people into the rotation, more hosts. You know, Tina having a weekly spot. Spencer Snyder, who has a YouTube channel, go check it out. He did a great video last week, kind of taking down the media's love affair with Liz Cheney. So he's going to be doing videos. So we're trying to mix it up here, so it's not just yours truly. So thank you, Tina. Thank you, Colin. Tina, I'm going to read the super chat, so I don't want to keep you if you got to go.
No, that's all right.
Okay, let me read them. Fly Chomper Fly, $2. New companies equal innovation. This was for big corporations. Yep. Tony, $5. You called in too, I think. Being honest with people is the best messaging. Isn't a certain section of Wall Street invested in green tech, ESG funds, all that stuff? Yes, Wall Street is invested in green tech. Yeah. Unfortunately, not to the degree they're invested in fossil fuel.
Yeah.
All I have to tell you is pretty much every bank was invested in the Dakota Access Pipeline, and a lot of
Chase is, I think, the biggest one out of all of them.
Yep. Double K, $19.99. Thank you. Das Blows Fleiss, €4.99. The ecosystem needs to unionize. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Tony Dallas, $2. I agreed with Tina. She is indeed hot AF. Hey, Tony, let's focus on her brains.
Yes.
Let's focus on her brains.
Thank you, Tony.
Or at least call me cute too.
Hey, man, I'll take it.
Yeah. Denise Columbia, $10. I'm going to go increase my subscription from $5 a month to $10 a month. You can hang up on this guy now. Oh, God bless you. If I would have seen this, if I would have seen it when I was talking to him, I would have hung up on him. So thank you for increasing your membership. That means a lot. Beffer Luger, $4.99 with prayer emojis. Thank you. My Gangrene Tum, $25. I know people, brah. You don't listen to me. Seriously, that's basically what this caller was saying. Like, I know people, bro. You don't listen to me.
Wait, is that the same guy? What?
No. He was basically saying.
Oh, I got you now. Okay.
Yeah. Double K, 1999. Thank you. Beffer Lugater, $4.99, and they love sending kids to concentration camps, as reported here. Don't care for kids' safety. Thanks so much, Status Coup. Thank you. Fly Champer Fly, $2. What he is missing is super chat funds to host. By the way, YouTube takes 30% of the super chats. So
wow, do you really?
Yep.
Woo!
Yes, they do. That's another gem of YouTube. Yes, apparently super chats are what's stopping investment in solar. Apparently. Tressa, $10. I'm voting with my wallet. Pro Status Coup. Holla. And by the way, I don't know if this person knows, but like, we're not like a $1 million company here. Most of these trips we break even. So
yeah.
He's making it seem like these people are raking in the super chats as they're drinking mojitos in the Bahamas. It's like,
I wish.
Right? Seriously. I don't like mojitos, but yeah.
No, we're like in like dungy hotels in the middle of nowhere.
Right. Beffer Luger, $4.99. Thank you. Carl Toman, $5. The government proves they do not care about people. To give a UBI, Medicare for all, or forgive student under medical debt. They couldn't give $7 trillion to the corporations. They did give $7 trillion to the corporations.
Yeah.
Steven, $20. Thanks for having me on. Sorry for being so nervous. Love what you do. Don't be nervous. It's just the internet.
Be nervous. You're great.
You did good. And we'll get better with the calls. So, we'll steer people if they're rambling a bit, or lose people if they're unhinged. So thank you, Tina. Thank you, Colin. And we'll be back at it tomorrow.
Yep.
Reminder, as far as I know, we're the only ones doing on-the-ground reporting. So we did get, let me shout out yesterday, because we got 2 new members while I was live.
Oh, nice.
Strike. Talia signed up yesterday. Thank you, Talia. Thank you, Harrison signed up yesterday. So if you're not yet a member and you have $5 to $10 a month, that's what's funding the on-the-ground reporting. We don't have money from the fossil fuckers, big pharma, big Wall Street, Silicon Valley, military industrial complex, or real estate. Our funding comes from you. So if you can, sign up, statuscoup.com/join. You can become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. And we will probably, we'll have our members only call later this week for the month of August. Thanks for watching.